Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new Graduate Student Orientation 2021. We're excited that you are here. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I do want to start an icebreaker for you all. It's online. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to go to this program called Padlet. If you're able to access the chat, go to the chat. And click on that link, and your password's going to be orientation 2021, no spaces. And basically, I just want to see how everyone's doing. Oh, you have an interview. That's okay. No worries. People are going to come in and out today. We're going to talk about that. Thanks for letting us know. But basically, if folks can go to the Padlet, we just want to see who you are, where you're from, and what you're thinking about today as you're starting off on your journey for graduate school. Here's the link. Can folks see the link? Oh, you know what I did? I sent it to the panelists. My bad. Here we go. You should be able to get it. Do you have it now? Orientation 2021 is the password. Everyone have it? Okay, sweet. I love that we've gotten used to this chat function. So go ahead. If you haven't used Padlet before, you're going to go click on that little plus button. And you're going to go in there, and that's how you're able to answer this. So I'm actually going to do share screen, and we're going to see what folks are putting in there and who's here today. I'm not seeing anything yet. So if you want to share your name, department, a short note, something about how you're feeling about entering your first semester of graduate school. Maybe we'll start seeing those in a second. Hi, Hassan, welcome from Information Decision Sciences. All right, let's do a share screen so we can see everyone. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Alessandra. Hi, Andrea, Dylan. Biomedical visualization. I love this. You're ready. The cat in sunglasses. I love those. Computer science. Folks are excited. Excited and nervous. I don't think you're the only one, whoever said excited and nervous. So we're so glad you're here. I'm scared. What is this one? Oh, it keeps jumping around. It says I'm scared right now, I think. That's okay. I was so scared my first day of grad school. I'm sure we're going to hear from the grad students about that, either that first day or that first month. Loving some of these memes. I see, oh, this duck walking around is super excited. Looking forward to this new journey. Nervous, absolutely. Can't wait to get started. Meeting new people. Well, look, you have this whole wonderful group of other graduate students just starting with you. Maybe you'll find a name in here of someone else from a program that you're a part of. SpongeBob starting school over here. See that? So happy. A lot of people are excited and happy. That's wonderful. Raising the roof, hands up, more excitement. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for sharing a quick note, introducing yourselves, letting us know how you're feeling, and dropping these funny, the cat memes. They always get me. And some baby Yoda up in there too. Okay, wonderful. So welcome, everybody. All right. So before we get started, I do want to do a quick land acknowledgement before I introduce myself. And I want us to think about the land that we're inhabiting. Maybe we are in Chicago, or maybe we're elsewhere, but our university inhabits the land, the original homelands of the Three Fires Confederacy, Potawatomi, Odawa, and Ojibwe nations, and other tribal nations, Menominee, Honchuk. We acknowledge and honor the original peoples of the Chicagoland area and the many indigenous peoples who call it home, past, present, and future. And just to take a minute and to think about that for for ourselves and the classes that we're about to embark on, the teaching that we're about to embark on, the research that we're about to embark on, the original homelands of the folks who inhabited this place before us and continue to inhabit it. All right, so welcome, everyone. My name is Theresa Christenson-Caballero, and I'm the Director of Graduate Student Professional and Career Development for the Graduate College. I also run the Pipeline to an Inclusive Faculty program here at the UIC Graduate College. We're so excited that you decided to join us today for the new Graduate Student 2021 orientation. This is the second time that we've done this virtually, but we have done it in person before, so we're happy to be able to at least still continue to host these orientations, albeit it would be nice to be able to share a breakfast or a granola bar and to sit amongst our colleagues today, but hopefully we will be able to get back to a time where we can have socials together and meet together again. On behalf of the Graduate College, we're delighted that you've chosen to become part of our campus community. As the only public Carnegie Research rated one-year institution in the city of Chicago, you should be proud of the campus that you're joining, a campus that excels in innovative research, exceptional teaching, and very strong relationships with community. Before we start and before I turn it over to Dean Art to make an introduction, I'd really like you to take a moment. I want you to take a breath and just breathe in and out for yourself. You're starting graduate school. I'm trying to put this on speaker. I don't know why this isn't. That's okay. Okay. Hopefully you can see me. That's fine. So I just want you to take a breath for a moment. I want you to think about this journey that you're about to embark upon. Maybe even close your eyes for a second if you're able to. If it makes you uncomfortable, don't worry about it. And I want you to really just take a breath in and out, and I want you to envision, what do you want this semester? What do you want to accomplish? You know, what is your goal? What is your intention for the semester? And what do you want to achieve? Where do you want to be come December at the end of this semester, your first semester? Maybe it's your first semester at UIC or just first semester of graduate school. And then I want you to take another breath, you know, literally it's, a lot of people said they're nervous. Just breathe in and out. Where do you want to be at the end of your program? What do you want to finish? What do you want to accomplish? What research did you come here to do? What goal did you come here to achieve? And I just want you to take a second and to set this kind of intention for your program. How's it going to feel at the end when you have that graduation gown and you're crossing the stage? How is it going to feel then? How is this going to be, how is this going to complete part of your education? And if your eyes are closed, you can open them, but I want you to kind of carry that with you. If you're able to, sometime today, write it down on a Post-it note, put it in front of your desk. What does that goal look like? Where are you going towards? So when the moments get rough, and they will, graduate school, we know isn't easy, right? When the moments get rough, you have that in front of you and you know what you want to do and what you want to achieve here. So I just want to go over a few things, and thank you for that. That was just a quick moment. Yes, thank you, Ashley, for that note. Just to have a quick little note on the how we're going to operate today during this orientation. So the presentations today are going to be live sessions. So all the folks talking to you are actually here for the most part. If anything shifts, like, we'll let you know, but for the most part, everybody is here and it's going to be live. You're going to be able to ask questions in the chat function. I see folks already maybe doing that or putting comments. Please feel free. That is your area to chat and to put whatever you want in there respectfully. But questions or commentary or kind of encouragement, whatever you want to put in there. This is also a webinar format. So unfortunately, we can't see the hundreds of you that are here. We're happy you're here with us, but it is a webinar. So you can only see the folks either that are panelists during these sessions or other folks that are going to be here as part of our staff. We're going to be here till 3:30, but know that we have a break. If you've seen the agenda, maybe we can drop that agenda again in the chat. We're going to have a 15-minute break around 1:45. So if you're knowing you need a little break and you want to want to stay for the whole session. If you need to come in and out, if you're working and you need to turn it off and you need to come back when you can, that's totally fine. Just to know that we're going to be here till 3:30. So for folks that aren't familiar with the chat box, hopefully you are. We've been in the Zoom environment for so long. The chat box is in the bottom of your screen. And, just let us know when you have questions. We'll try to get to all of them. And if not, then feel free to contact us afterwards. If you have any questions, that's what we're here for. Okay. That's enough for me for a minute. I want to do an introduction for Dr. Jonathan Aich, who is a professor in the Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology, Neuroscience and Bioengineering in the College of Medicine. Since 2003, he has served as the Associate Dean for STEM disciplines and is currently serving as Acting Dean of the Graduate College. Before coming to UIC, he was a faculty member in the Department of Pharmacological and Physiological Sciences at the University of Chicago. He received his postdoctoral training in biophysics at Cambridge University and neuroethology at the University of Sussex. He received a PhD in organismal biology from the University of Chicago and an AB in physics from Oberlin College. His research in the biophysics of the auditory and vestibular systems, and is in the biophysics of auditory and vestibular systems, and he uses optical and electrophysiological techniques to characterize the cellular properties responsible for hearing and balance. His work has characterized how the brain controls sensitivity of the ears and how proteins in the receptor cells tune each to a specific frequency of sound. His most recent work focuses on the network properties in the ear and how to inform from multiple cells is integrated to detect velocity and acceleration. I feel fortunate to know and work with someone who cares so much about graduate and professional students here at UIC and has done so for a very long time. He's a wonderful person to have around, a great leader, administrator, professor, and is someone that I really admire who is able to create really clear solutions to difficult problems and talk through them with folks on multiple levels. So please welcome our acting dean of the Graduate College, Dr. Jonathan Aich. Dr. Aich.
Thank you, Theresa, for that welcome. I'm sorry for the tongue twisters that were in my CV, but it's how I got here. And welcome to all of you in the audience. This is an unusual moment. It's a moment of transition back to what we hope is a new and better normal than it was when we entered this pandemic. To give you some context of University of Illinois, Chicago, we actually were formed back in 1982 by the merger of what is the East Campus colleges and the West Campus colleges, which made us into what is now a unique environment for you to actually do your research and teaching and study in your advanced degrees. We have about 7,400 graduate students with you guys joining the ranks. We have 111 master's programs and we have 66 doctoral programs. As Theresa mentioned, that puts us into a rather rarefied atmosphere of the Research One universities and the Carnegie taxonomy. And that's, to give you some idea, those are the very high research activity that's going on. Of the more than 4,000 institutions in America, only 131 of them or about 3% come into that classification. It also means that we are not only rarefied in terms of the amount of research that gets done here, but you'll notice that some of the colleges that you've joined are in the top 10% in the nation, or I'm sorry, the top 10 in the nation. In addition to that, and perhaps even more important at this critical moment for your studies and those of the nation and the world, are the fact that of those Carnegie institutions, there are only 14 that are minority serving institutions. That puts us in a really rarefied landscape of being about 0.4% of the universities in America. Why is that important? Well, it is always important to have the most people at the table, those with most different perspectives and questions to ask and techniques to apply to those questions. So we actually have an advantage over the rest of the institutions which have more homogeneous populations in them. So don't lose track of that. It's a very important feature of who we are and how we approach things. As far as it goes in terms of your programs, There are as many reasons for going to graduate college as there are people who are out here in the audience or up here as panelists. Those are really unique approaches that each of you will have. And our hope is that you're passionate about those particular disciplines as we are about ours. The other feature, and something that I grieve that we're missing at this moment, is that you will spend a lot of time within your programs. It's important for you to actually hybridize and go outside and know people outside of your programs. And if we'd had a normal sort of reception, then you would have had the opportunity to introduce yourselves in sort of fields way outside of what you might be pursuing on a day-to-day basis. This is really essential because it's sort of like being able to browse in a library rather than going on a directed search for what you think you're looking for, because you never know where techniques and answers and approaches in disparate disciplines might actually serve you very well. So keep that in mind. The other most important thing that I think you should keep in mind today, especially, is that this is the first day. We're within 4 days of starting your actual coursework. For many of you, you begin with didactic courses. And as Theresa mentioned, these are going to be, in the main, for graduate students, face-to-face. And they will be, because we are not requiring social distancing, but we are requiring masks, that you actually be present and interact with those in your program. But more importantly is the fact that this is the beginning of a self-construction project for each of you. You are your own best agent. And I say that after more than 40 years in the business and seeing where things are successful and where things go wrong. As an undergraduate, you often could make your way through the process by, responding to what was required of you from various other people. That's no longer the case. There will be some moments where specific tasks are assigned to you, and we control that prelim that allows you to go into candidacy if you're going on in doctoral studies, for example. But that's not the real gist of what I'm trying to drive at. What I'm concerned about is that, as Theresa mentioned, that you are always imagining what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, what your intermediate goal is, and what your long-term goal is for your graduate education. A minority of you will go on and be in the academy, all right? A majority of you will go out with the talents that you learn either in master's or in PhD programs and apply it to other things. And that's important. But as you go along, you have to be able to judge where you are in the process. And the graduate college is here to try to help that process. And we're developing with our staff a number of different sort of dashboards that allow you to see where you are with respect to others that are in your program. And this is important because, once you get past being assigned grades by somebody, you're actually on your own to figure out whether you're making progress on a day-to-day.
Well, Dr. Art froze for a second. Hopefully he will be back. This is a virtual aspect of our orientations, which I'm sure isn't the first time. So hopefully he'll be back in a second. Thank you for those who've noted that it's frozen. Just be patient with us. Give us a second. Thanks. Hopefully Dr. Art will log back in. That's okay. It just gives us a moment for note taking. I wish in lectures sometimes that there would be like a freeze and a pause so I could finish taking notes. Is he coming back in? Okay. Well, let's just give one more minute for Dr. Art, hopefully to come back in. And if not, maybe we'll move on and then do the second part of the commentary in a second. Okay. hopefully Dr. Art will come back and join us, and then can continue the rest of that. But we already have some good points to take with us. So I think maybe we will move on to the next section, and then hopefully Dr. Art can come back and join us in a little bit. So next, we're going to talk about campus resources. We are going to, oops, my stuff hasn't opened, my apologies. One second. So one of the things that, I talked about in the beginning is the kind of this rough road to graduate school, and really taking hold of all of the opportunities that the campus has to offer, many of the different programs and centers and support networks that this campus has to offer. And so in order to go into more detail of that, I'm going to have Jodi Aguilar, who is a PhD student in the Department of Education here at UIC, and also our amazing graduate assistant in the Graduate College, take over for a minute and talk to y'all about campus resources at UIC. Jodi?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jodi Aguilar. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am the graduate assistant for the Graduate College. I'm going to be going ahead and sharing my screen just to share a few resources. So welcome, graduate students. We are excited that you're here. Let's see. So one of the aspects that we've been able to work on throughout the Graduate College and through the pandemic is a Graduate College newsletter. These are meant to be going out bi-weekly. Sometimes we do it more often, or sometimes it's only once a month. It depends on the amount of resources that we get that are offered throughout the semester. And things like that. The newsletter is divided into different sections. Some of it pertains to activities and events that go on campus. Sometimes it pertains to extracurricular kind of resources that are available to graduate students. But we also try to focus on wellness resources, trying to acknowledge that you are more than just a graduate student, right? You are a person in this institution who deserves support in all things beyond academic as well. So this is on the right side, just a snippet of what one of the pages of the newsletter looks like. Here's another page. I try to include just different things in a newsletter, things you probably wouldn't normally see in a institutional kind of email or things like that. So I try to add different art that I see specifically from Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Here's a copy of a reading list that I included in one of the newsletters. These newsletters, I try to get information from a bunch of different organizations on campus, right? The Latino Cultural Center, the Gender and Sexuality Center. So I try to make it as inclusive and as responsive as possible, right? This is meant for graduate students to visit and gain resources. Here's another section of what it looks like. We also try to center career and professional development resources. For example, the Versatile PhD program, the Imagine PhD program. And we also have a list of workshops throughout the semester that you can attend. Some of these workshops center how to make your CV more presentable, how to apply for fellowships, how to do a whole bunch of different things that will ultimately support your academic career as a graduate student. Throughout the pandemic, we also added more graduate student programming. This is a little bit more specific as to responding to the needs of graduate students. For example, we have a series of virtual check-ins. For example, one of the virtual check-ins that we do is parenting during COVID. So we gathered with different parents that are also graduate students and just held space to have honest conversation about what it's like being a parent, about what are the resources that have yet to be met with you as a parent and graduate student. We also have had a session on managing stress. another one on frustrations, hope, and community. And we also have one that's kind of a reoccurring one called Café con Chisme, that where we gather, you either bring your favorite coffee drink or your favorite beverage, and we just talk together as graduate students. That one's a little bit more informal than the other ones that we host, but it's meant to provide a space where we can actually get to know each other across different disciplines and different academic agendas. Now I'm going to be sharing just a little bit information about UIC iCards. This information has pretty much stayed the same since last year. So I'm going to share this little infographic. So iCard, what's an iCard? So your iCard is the official permanent ID card that will be used as long as you attend or are employed by the University of Illinois at Chicago. It will give you access to appropriate services and facilities on campus. Your iCard is your key to many of the following services on campus, including Dragon Dollars, Flame Fair, libraries, campus recreation centers, parking, computer lab, printing, banking with your iCard, and building access. So the ID Center is actually located at 1750 South Halsted Street between Monday and Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. I don't think that they are in person in the fall either. So I would suggest emailing the ID Center at uic.edu if you have any questions regarding your iCard. So here's the COVID impact on the ID Center, that the physical center will remain closed until further notice. However, you can still submit your picture through Photo Submit. It allows eligible university community members to upload their own photo for their iCard. For new and returning employees and students, replacement of iCards, you can again go to this website and do what you need to do to get your iCard. And I think I'll stop sharing my screen now. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. I have a couple more resources. So another resource that I wanted to highlight is the Wellness Center. The Wellness Center also has plenty of programming throughout the semester that centers the needs for graduate students. One of the resources that I actually also use a lot of is their pop-up pantry. So just a reminder that today is the last day for the summer pop-up pantry. It will be open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Montgomery Ward Gallery across from Montgomery Ward Lounge area. I can go ahead and put the specifics in the chat for those who plan to attend today. The process is simple. You bring your iCard and a reusable bag, and you get a bag full of food and snacks that will last you, a week or two. And then another social that I wanted to promote is tomorrow, August 19th, 11 a.m. via Zoom. We will be having our first Café con Chisme of the semester. So feel free to join. I will drop the RSVP link in the chat along with a copy of the flyer. So come on in, I'm gonna be the one hosting. Let's get to know each other. Let's start making new friends before the semester starts. Yeah, I think that's all on my end. Is there anything that I missed, Theresa?
Jodi, can you just talk quickly about the centers on campus, the Centers for Cultural Change, and I'm not using the whole title, but maybe your experience with them or how you've seen them operate on campus?
Right, thank you. So yes, the UIC Center for Cultural Understanding and Social Change. It's consistent of the African American Culture Center, the Arab American Culture Center, the Asian American Resource and Cultural Center, Disability Cultural Center, Gender and Sexuality Center, Latino Cultural Center, and the Women's Leadership and Resource Center. As a graduate student, I've been to at least one or two of each of these events. Given with the pandemic, none of us have been able to attend events in person, but the events that I have attended have all been consistent, and they've all been beautiful, and they've all been very community centered. So I strongly encourage everyone to attend some of the virtual programming that's happening. I know that the Gender and Sexuality Center is having focus groups coming up in the fall. All of this information will also be included in the newsletter. So I definitely encourage you to be part of their programming. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jodi. Was that it? Was that it for this one? Wonderful. So I know some folks are following the chat, and there's a lot of great questions as we were looking at the chat. Some folks are asking where they can access the newsletter, and if you didn't see that, we do send out a monthly email of the newsletter, as well as the link to our current newsletters was linked in the chat as well. You can find those on the Graduate College website. Links to the UPass as well as the ID Center, those are connected. Those are two separate things, right? But go to the ID Center website and also the section on UPass to find out more about the transit pass there. And then another center I think to think about also is the UIC Wellness Center that runs the pop-up pantry. We do a lot of collaborations with the UIC Wellness Center. There's going to be times when you need a mindful meditation. We did a very 2-second one this morning, kind of like envisioning, right? But they offer workshops around that, around stress management. And they also have the wonderful pop-up pantry for folks that are struggling and need to have a couple of extra groceries. I do know somebody asked about if there's donations. I'm not exactly sure, but I would check out the UIC Wellness Center website. Maybe one of our staff can pull that up and drop that in the chat to find out more from the Wellness Center. There was only an email shared and not a website. Is it a website or an email to get your ID? So if you go, I don't know, Jodi, did you want to elaborate on that? Maybe I missed that. Is there a website or email to get your ID?
Yes, I'm dropping the link to the website as we speak. And for folks who would like to donate to the pop-up pantry, they are all donation based. So they are always accepting donations. However, with COVID, I'm not sure what the protocol is, but I can also drop some contact information for the Wellness Center so people can reach out.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you so much. Jodi, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're running ahead of schedule, y'all. So that's good, right? I think the on-person orientation is already behind schedule. So I'm actually gonna give everybody, if you have to run to the restroom real quick, or you need a 5-minute pause, we're gonna take a 5-minute pause and we'll be right back. And we'll be back with our student panel in about 5 minutes. So go ahead and take your break, take your sip of coffee, and then we will, oh yeah, sure, we can post the agenda again. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay, see y'all soon. shout out to Stefania and Soriria, who either love the music and that's one of their favorite songs. So shout out to y'all today. Oh yeah, and Jodi, can we include the Café con Chisme RSVP? You'll also get an email later today inviting you, if you're missing it in the chat, to see to join our Café con Chisme, our coffee with milk or whatever beverage you want to bring, our new grad student social tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central Time. I see Dr. Art is back, so maybe we can do part 2, Dr. Art, before we start the student panel, if you had any more commentary that you wanted to share. Thank you for coming back. Welcome back.
Well, we actually are all slaves to the technology, and sometimes we actually can't get it to work the way we want it to. So apparently this part of the College of Medicine is offline, and so we're trying it by phone right now. So if I disappear again, you'll know what happened. I think the important bottom line for all of you is that there will be times when, as Theresa mentioned, things aren't going terribly well. In terms of this is sort of normal. There are ups and downs in the process. But I would like to point out that, in a couple of months from now, I go back to my normal role as the Associate Dean for STEM. And my door is actually always open in terms of when problems arise and you don't think they can be handled by the Director of Graduate Studies within the program, or if there are sensitive issues that you think aren't being dealt with. The graduate college staff and the deans are actually sensitive to what professionalism looks like, and any information you bring to us is held in confidence because it's your information and not mine. And so if we're trying to work through a problem that you're having with your program, then be aware that we won't go and address the issue of particular individuals unless and until you give that release. There are lots of different things that go on in a graduate program. And as adults, you're now people on your own bottoms, so to speak, and you're trying to survive this process. And we're here to help that process. And you'll be hearing later on in terms of the sorts of mediation we're trying, the sorts of things we're trying to put in place to cope with the immediate effects of this pandemic. But one thing I'd like to point out to you is that you may have realized by now that our technologies have gotten to us to a point where we could protect most of the population. And it's clear that these sorts of issues are not ones that just rely on technology. They rely on the social sciences, the political sciences, the behavioral sciences, and the rest to try to address the issues that humans bring to a problem like this. And the reason that this moment in history is so important is that this small impediment of the pandemic has highlighted just what it will take to actually get groups of people to work together to solve a problem. You have unfortunately been born at a time when we've ignored 30 years of advice by science in terms of what is happening in the global warming. You've witnessed this summer just sorts of features that are being brought to bear in terms of the actual instability in climate and exceptional atmospheric events on different parts of our planet. And basically the fact of ignoring that wisdom of the indigenous peoples that told us how to create ways of controlling fire, for example, out in the West. They will have gone through a set of processes that will make it so that these events wouldn't be so extreme. But back when Europeans colonized California, for example, we made it illegal to be setting fires and such. We were sort of nervous about how that might turn out. So I ask all of you to look to your disciplines and the wisdom that they bring to solving the global problems that we're about to address. And if you have any individual problems that you need our help with, be sure to avail yourselves of us as well. And with that, I'll stop before I disappear from the screen forever. Thank you, Theresa, and welcome to all of you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Art. We were able to get part 1 and 2, so appreciate your comments and your wisdom joining us here today for the new grad student orientation. I really liked your comment on the self-construction project. What a way to think about that, of what you want to accomplish throughout your graduate career here. For those checking in the chat, there's a lot more information that is being posted. Jodi's on it and posting all of that info that folks are asking, and please feel free to keep posting your questions there. Now we're going to move on to one of my favorite parts and one of, I guess, just orientation history's favorite parts of our new graduate student orientation. And that is our graduate student panel. I think most of our panelists hopefully are here today. Yes, looking good. So if folks that are panelists want to turn your cameras on, we're going to get started in a second. I'm going to introduce you and we can get started. Yay, there's your veteran graduate students. They've made it, so you can make it. So, so thank you for joining us and being with us here today. All right. Well, I want to introduce the graduate students who volunteered their time and their busy schedules in the last week of summer, right, to come here today and talk with you all about their experiences in graduate school here at UIC and just their experiences in general. They come from a variety of disciplines and have a variety of stories to share with y'all. So I want to introduce Ankit, Aich, Torey Cohen-Boseman, Pritha Ghosh, Veronica Kang, Kelly O'Shea, and Carolyn Straub to talk to you about graduate school. And I'll have them introduce themselves instead of doing these kind of formal bio introductions. I'll let them go and introduce themselves. So I think, Ankit, you are the first one.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to UIC. I personally love it here. I am a PhD student in the Department of Computer Science, and this is my second year here. I am originally from India, but then I transferred to UIC from another university in New York. So I'm an international student and also a graduate student, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Torey Cohen-Boseman, pronouns he, him, his. This is my fourth year in the PhD program in criminology, law, and justice. I'm originally from Nashville. I've resided here in Chicago for about 5 years now, a little over 5 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pritha. I'm a master's student here at UIC, and I'm getting my master's in business analytics. And I joined UIC in spring this year. And I just want to say welcome to UIC, and I hope I can answer any questions you guys may have.
Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Veronica. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate in special education. I identify myself as a Korean American woman. I am also part of the master's program in measurement, evaluation, statistics, and assessment, and am mainly involved with research with families of children with autism. I teach undergrad and graduate level courses and also serve in the Senate office. So nice to meet you all.
I'm Kelly O'Shea. I'm a fourth year, my pronouns are she, hers, and I'm a fourth year PhD student in the epidemiology department. I'm also the Associate Director of Evaluation and Tracking here at the Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences. And I'm very happy to talk to everyone today.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Straub. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I will be starting my third year as a PhD student, medicinal chemistry PhD student in the College of Pharmacy, where I have the privilege of researching new drugs to treat addiction.
All right, thank you so much, panelists, for being here. I know we met as a panel the other day, and the graduate students were like, "Oh, there's so much to talk to them about. What are we going to talk to them about?" And one of the things that we were talking about is we are still in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of folks have gone through things in their lives in graduate school or even outside of the pandemic, right? Life things that happen, challenges, dealing with kind of wellness, how to take care of yourself. So I'm going to open up the floor to the grad students to think about, how are you dealing with things in the middle of graduate school? How has it been for you? What are some challenges that you've faced? And what are some ways that you've also focused on your wellness? So feel free to answer this at will and take it from there. So whoever wants to start.
I'm happy to start. So this is again Veronica, and I guess one thing that I think a lot of us talked about in our previous meeting is building relationship. So for me, it was maintaining relationship with my classmates and the faculty in my department, and also with my close ones, so family and friends. And that was mainly so that I can share what I'm going through on a regular basis. So sometimes I would just be mindful about scheduling a FaceTime call with my family members or friends, or scheduling a short Zoom meeting with my classmates just to see how the semester is going. So that kind of social support was really helpful for me.
I can go next. I think at UIC, something, as an international student, something that we were talking about the other day is that a lot of you who are international students or who are coming from out of state might not have a very large community of family and friends instantly, but UIC does have resources to build and foster new relationships. There are specific interest groups, support networks. There are social events, and I'm very happy to answer more queries about them. But I think that's something that will really get you started into grad school, and also building relationships for just anything from places to live to jobs and stuff, is just knowing who to approach and being resourceful and building meaningful connections in your time here, because they will last a long time, maybe your whole life.
I'll go next. One of the things I feel is really important is your mental health. Taking time out to focus on you, although your schedules may get filled with just different classes, different school-related activities. I strongly encourage all of you to take some time out for yourself. Me personally, I create a schedule for myself where within my schedule, I have time, like about 4 hours to just relax, just to step back away from the work, because it can get overbearing, especially in times like this. So I strongly encourage you guys to really focus on your mental health.
I can go next. So just going off of what my fellow panelists stressed upon. So I myself came to UIC as an international student in spring. So that was kind of right in the middle of the pandemic. All our classes were virtual. I had all my classes online. I didn't know a lot of people because it was a new country for me. There was maybe 2 or 3 people that I knew here. So yes, it can be challenging and overwhelming for an international student. But I think the main way that I cope with it is just, keeping myself busy, trying to get involved in the student organizations here at UIC. So I think no matter what your major is, you will find an organization that suits you. So for me, I'm a member of the business analytics organization here. So I think that was a way that I tried to form relationships and build my network here. And as Torey mentioned, it's so important to take care of your mental health. And with everything being online, it's very easy to get lost in, you don't know when your day is starting, you don't know where your day is ending. So I think it's so important to maintain a schedule and a structure that you stick to, that at 5 or 6 or however, whatever your schedule looks like, just log off and make some time for yourself. I think that is so very, very important.
I can go next. So for me, something someone told me is nothing blooms in all seasons. So knowing and recognizing that things are going to come and go, and there are going to be times where you just feel like you can't do anything, and being a little gentle with yourself. And for me, and all the student organizations are great. Everything is, there's so much here at UIC, but there's also a lot outside of UIC, and you need to remember you're a person outside of your graduate degree. So for me, I have a dance studio I go to, and they've been a huge source of support for me. So reminding myself that I'm not just my work, I'm not just my studies, has been completely invaluable.
So I participate in group therapy through the Counseling Center. And at UIC, this group therapy is free of charge. It's available to all students. And I found this very useful because it's a group composed of my peers, other students at UIC. So they understand a lot about what I'm going through. A lot of people in these groups have very, are going through very similar things to me. So I find this very useful to sort of have like a confidential place to speak about these issues, anything in my life or mental health issues. And they have groups for all sorts of different things, process groups, specific skill-based groups. Like for example, if you're struggling with anxiety, you can join groups that will help you deal with that. But if that's not something that you're interested in, I would recommend finding a mentor or a confidant. I sometimes feel a little bit nervous going to my advisor with these personal issues, because on the one hand, they are my advisor, but they're also my boss. So it's sort of, I feel this fine line of like, what can I really share with them? So if you're not interested in counseling, find some other mentor, maybe in your department, that you can go to that's not your advisor, that can give you advice on, that you trust to give you advice on these personal issues.
These are all wonderful, wonderful aspects of advice. And then we have people asking questions. Well, where do you dance, Kelly? And Pritha, how did you join the student organizations? So maybe we could get to those and you could answer this in the chat. But one beautiful question that Elizabeth asked, and I also saw that Veronica had answered on her perspective, was, how do we balance grad work and work life? It's easy to say, turn off your computer at 6. Oh, but I have a paper due tomorrow, or I have a project, or I have to be in lab till 9. Like I have the option. So what do you all do specifically? And you've talked about some of these things that you do, but what do you do to kind of try to create this balance between like your grad life and then like your personal life? Like how do you embark on that? I think some of you have talked about that, but maybe some folks want to talk a little more.
I'll go. So I create a schedule, and say I have a paper due in a couple of weeks. I never procrastinate, so I always start on things early, and I set my schedule in 4-hour increments. So I spend 4 hours of just working on my health, 4 hours of work because I am a full-time employee, 4 hours on assignments. And I just follow that. And then 4 hours with my family. So I just follow that method until my assignments are done, which again, it may not work for you, but it works for me. So it's been working all 4 years. So yeah, I mean, if you want to try, it's great. If you want more details, just email me. I don't mind helping you guys out, but that's what I do.
Going off of what you said, like scheduling has sometimes worked for me, sometimes it hasn't, but I think that it's very important for you as a graduate student to know like what is something that is relaxing, because around Chicago, I mean, I have lived in multiple neighborhoods in Chicago, but something that I have found is there is something for everyone. Be it taking like a nap, there are nap pods at UIC, or if you just want to visit the gym or swimming pool. I used to go to a martial arts class sometimes over the week, and I just signed up for like whenever I got free time, I can just go in and take a short class. So I think it's important that you know what relaxes you and you know what's your nearest option to avail it. UIC has so many different things, from like fencing to swimming to, just a hot tub. And most of these are available to students for like no extra cost. And just knowing where these are and how you can reach out to them the quickest is just such a great way to get started.
I think knowing your management style is a good place to start. I've tried the 4-hour block thing. It didn't really work for me. I'm more of a do a small amount every single day. Even if I write 1 sentence a day, by the end of the week, I have a paragraph. So for me, just really getting to know yourself and how you manage your time will really pay off.
I would say my biggest advice for establishing work-life balance is to practice saying no. So, if you're a student who's just coming from undergrad and maybe you've not held like a full-time job, this is where I really learned this skill. So I had like a gap between my undergrad and graduate where I worked. And this is where I really learned that your boss or your advisor will always ask you to do more. They're never going to look. It's rare that you'll have a boss that will be like, you know what, I think maybe she's looking stressed. I'm going to give her some time off, whatever. They're always going to ask you for more until you say no. So you have to say no, or otherwise it'll just become completely unmanageable. So it can be difficult, but to practice that skill of setting boundaries, it's necessary. It doesn't mean that you're slacking or, you're not a good graduate student. That's not it. In terms of like time management, what I do is I set goals every day. They're not really goals. They're just like 1 to 3 things that I know I can accomplish in that day. Because sometimes I'll get a to-do list, it'll be really long, and there'll be a lot of long-term things like, oh, I need to write my prelim grant proposal or whatever. But try to find a couple of things that you can easily accomplish that day. They could be very, small and simple. That's kind of how I break it up so that I don't get overwhelmed with these big, daunting tasks.
Great, all this wonderful, great advice. Was there any other comments on this section before we move on to the next?
I just wanted to make
go ahead, yeah,
one quick comment. Yeah, along with what Caroline shared, which I really appreciate. It's a good reminder for me too. I really benefited from others and myself creating culture of sharing like personal things, like at the beginning of our meeting, and like, in the introduction of my email, so that like it's a very natural process with my colleagues and my advisor to share not just work-related things. And that I think naturally allows us to remind ourselves, like, it's not just about work, but there are family things going on. There's mental health related things we want to take care of for each other and to support each other, not just to, meet our goals for our the things that are going on at UIC. So that has been really helpful. As a TA, my instructor really was mindful about that. So at the beginning of our meeting, she would always ask, like, how is your family doing? How is COVID treating you? Like, are you staying healthy? Like, are you getting the support you need? So asking those type of check-in questions to each other and creating that culture was really helpful for me to balance like my work and personal. Like, we were able to do that for each other.
I think that's wonderful advice. Not all disciplines can do it, but sometimes even building that if you're teaching or you're leading a group or you're part of a student org, like how do you build those questions and things into that community? I think is really powerful. I know I was in grad school eons ago, but I remember when I came to grad school, I was a history PhD. So I thought, oh, I have to read everything, every single thing, right? I didn't have the exact study skills. And so I was like reading all through the weekend, trying to finish everything, then never got a break, then started on Monday. And after 4 weeks of this, being new to Chicago, coming in here, I was like, wow, like you can't do that. You're going to burn out. So I think the folks that are saying you need to build in something that gives you that kind of happiness or pleasure. For me, it was like, okay, you can take Sunday afternoon off. You don't have to think about this stuff. Sunday afternoon is your time. So carving out whatever kind of space and time also for yourself that you're able to have that rejuvenating time. There's great questions. And before we go into, I know our next section, we're going to talk a little bit more about research and networking, but this is a good segue. And I can't remember who asked it. Ooh, there's more good questions. I love this. But Sarah said, you know, can you talk a little bit more about making friends? Like, we're grad students and like now we're adults, maybe we're coming from other places. How did you all build relationships in your program? And now consider that a lot of folks are coming into maybe the online environment, maybe there are some classes meeting, but it is just kind of this weird time. So maybe some tips for folks on how to build relationships and make friends in your program or outside, considering COVID. What are folks doing? What are y'all doing?
So I can go first. So for me, like I mentioned before, it was trying to get involved in student organizations. So when I signed up for the organization I was interested in, I found that a lot of other people from my major are also part of that. And, you know, then after that, it gets really easy to just shoot an email, shoot a text, and even in your classes, you will know people who come from similar backgrounds or share the same interests as you. And I think, you know, everyone's trying to navigate this pandemic and all the challenges that come with it. So you are definitely not alone in this. Everyone's going through the same thing. So just reach out and, you know, I'm sure the person will appreciate it. Everyone will appreciate it.
So I'm a chemist, so I don't know how it is for all the other graduate students, but I had to join a lab. Like I had to find, you know, a PI and a group of graduate students to do research with. So we had to do rotations before we could join the lab, like 3 8-week rotations. So really my focus in the 8-week rotations was to just kind of get a sense of, you know, like the vibe of the lab, like the culture of the lab. How does the PI interact with the graduate students? How do the graduate students interact with each other? You know, do people seem angry and stressed all the time, or you know what? So that was a big focus. And if you have to join a lab, I would recommend that you really try to key into that atmosphere. So it was very important to me that I would join a lab that would be, you know, supportive and friendly and all of those things. However, I would say that I am generally the type of person where when I come to work, I just tend to put my head down, work, and go home. You know, I don't do a lot of like side socializing with my lab group. And if you do, that's fine. And then you're very close friends with the people in your lab group, that's fine. But also if you're not, that's fine. You don't have to, these people don't have to be your best friends. It's okay. You know, if grad school doesn't fill every single need that you have in your life, that's okay. You can have friends outside of grad school that fulfill that need for friendship, right? So it depends. If you want to be close, forge those relationships. If you don't, that's okay. You can have that closeness and community somewhere else.
You know, something for just building friends that worked for me, especially in this virtual environment, is that before a class, some of our instructors would have introductory slide decks where everybody could just go on Google Drive and write a line or two about themselves. And the UIC email is very well structured. So if you find classmates who you know have similar interests, or you find somebody who has introductions, I think it's fine to reach out to them and email them about something. Personally, I am extremely into music and I like playing a lot of instruments. So I ended up meeting a whole bunch of people through virtual classes, Zoom, email, and we ended up going to recording studios, becoming friends and creating music. So there's always the opportunity, if you're really looking, that will present itself. Just, you know, try and connect, like look for introductions. If somebody's saying they have a common interest with you, it's perfectly fine if you email them and ask if they want to talk about it more, or, you know, if they are also a new student and you want a friend. But connections always exist, at least in my experience, for people who want to connect.
Going off what Carolyn and Ankit said, I have personally really bad social anxiety. So it's really hard for me to make friends a lot of time. But one thing I've learned is that people love to talk about what they love. So if I love, something and Ankit is really into it, like getting him to talk about it, we can bond over that and learn something. But like I said before, and like Carolyn said, I really don't think grad students should fulfill every need you have. And it is important. Chicago's a big city, especially if I'm from Chicago, but if you're not from here, there's a lot going on, and there's life outside of UIC. It's not the end of the world.
All right. So this is a good transition, because I think making friends is basically another word for networking, right? We don't like that word because we think of people in like business suits, but but it is like networking. And you can wear a business suit and like make friends. But in terms of professionally and thinking about your work and your research, how do you network? How have you built relationships also as a teaching assistant and a research assistant? How are you building your network inside the university and outside of it? How does it relate to future research collaborations, and also specifically, building relationships? I know some of you have mentioned as international students, and how does that, kind of look? So if you want to talk a little bit more about that, and also maybe what are some resources that you've gone to for support regarding these things. So any of those, we can start, whoever wants to start.
Yeah, for me, I really benefited from signing up for like listservs or newsletters in our department, or so I'm in the Department of Special Education and also part of the larger College of Education and also the larger graduate college as well. So whatever kind of emails I can get to get any announcements or if there's like any meetings, Zoom meetings that are going on that grad students can attend, I try to attend as much as I can if my schedule allows, so that I can build relationship with my fellow students and faculty as well. So one thing I had to do after those Zoom meetings was to either use direct message in the Zoom chat or like ask for their email, and I might just shoot a short email. I really enjoyed meeting you, and this Zoom meeting, I would love to talk a little bit more about XYZ to either my fellow students or faculty. So that was really helpful. And then I am part of a lot of professional organizations as well. And there are a lot of graduate student organizations within those like conference or organizations. So for example, in education, there's American Education Research Association. I'm also part of American Psychology Association. So I'm sure in all of your disciplines, there are these professional organizations where they have Asian caucus or graduate student organizations, all of those smaller size groups that you can be a part of and build a more intimate relationship with. And that was really helpful for me as well.
Something like when it comes to networking that is very underrated, I felt, is just the courses that you take. Because the courses that you take are automatically a group of people who have the same interest as you, including the professor. And something that has always worked for me is to directly tell either use my project partners and ask them if they have shared interests, or to just reach out to my professor and after the course is done or after the semester is done and tell them about my research interests and see if they would want to collaborate on a project with my advisor and my lab. And or if two students are collaborating, you can introduce your advisors to each other. I think courses are very underrated in building networking connections, and so is the UIC faculty website. So if you're interested in something like I'm interested in AI and mental health, so if you just Google who in UIC works on these things, you will find their research, their publications, their papers, and it's, on campus, you could have just got into their office, but you can just send them an email and introduce yourself and say if you want to get involved with their lab, you can volunteer, you can talk to their students. And there are many just unwritten resources at UIC that helps you network a lot. And it's just very useful to use them.
So I really love communicating science. I love talking about my research. So I specifically look for opportunities like to present posters or to talk, sort of like opportunities like this to talk to, new grad students, things like that. I love to just teach and communicate about my research. So I just look out for those opportunities. And anytime you have an opportunity to present your research in front of a group, either like an oral presentation or a poster presentation, these are awesome ways to meet people who have similar, research interests as you. So like one specific example is I'm going to the Gordon Research Seminar for Medicinal Chemistry upcoming this fall. These aren't things that my PI asked me to do. They're just like fun things that I see and I'm like, hey, can I submit an abstract for this or whatever? So if this is something that you enjoy doing, then I would recommend you go out and look for places to present your research, posters or whatever, and present it to your PI. And I don't know, if your PI is anything like me, he will always say yes. He always will want you to communicate your research if possible. I think the reason this works for me is because it's something I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy. So when I see these opportunities, I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun, like I'm excited about it. So I guess I would recommend to you, just find something that you're passionate about where, you can speak about it with others. And I think that will naturally lead to meeting other people who have those same interests.
For me, getting on Twitter. Honestly, getting on Twitter for epidemiology students, we have the Epi Twitter hashtag, there's academic Twitter, there's something for basically everyone. I'm studying endometriosis. I have endometriosis, so I was just on Twitter complaining about those two things, and somebody who I had interacted with tagged me in a tweet of an endometriosis researcher in France who was looking for an intern to work with her. And we applied, and now I'm going to be working in France for 4 months, all because of a tweet. So that, I know a lot of the professional organizations and everything can sound really, really intimidating, and they're still hard for me to get involved in, but Twitter is kind of a low stakes way if you can stay out of the bad parts of it, to really meet some really interesting people that you wouldn't know otherwise.
When it comes to networking, I think it's important to approach it as like a necessity, especially for me being from Nashville, not having any family here, only knowing like my wife, like networking extremely important to me. So with that, Veronica spoke about this earlier, the listserv, joining the listserv has been really helpful. One of my professors is in the chat. Taking courses outside of your department has been really helpful, because you meet other graduate students taking the same course, and then you guys get to work together for a semester. So obviously you build a relationship with one another, sometimes life-lasting. Kelly talked about this earlier, how Chicago is so big. Taking externships outside of the classroom. So I've been in North Lawndale taking a course, studying research. I spoke about this yesterday in our meeting. Listening to the radio, I was in tune with somebody that talked about restorative justice. So I reached out to her because I found her on Google, reached out to her, and I landed a job with the state, which is in line with my dissertation. So just really making it a necessity, I think, is important. And then from there, your networks are going to come.
Great. Was there any more commentary on that question? I don't know if everyone got to go. I wasn't checking. I think so. Yeah. Okay. And maybe there were some follow-up questions in this section. Some people are asking about kind of feasibility. Is anyone working part-time or working full-time on the side, not just RITA, but like working outside and being able to do grad school? Is anyone doing that? How are you doing it? And then also anybody that's dealing with kind of family or partner demands, maybe that you have either, whether it's elderly parents or children you're taking care of or other family concerns. Is anyone dealing with stuff like that? How are you balancing those things if that's going on for you?
I work full-time for the university. I'm a staff member for us. So I have responsibilities that have nothing to do with me being a student. And for me, just really establishing boundaries of both ways, that work is important. You may, if you do work, especially if you work outside, you might have some faculty who tell you that that's not possible or you're not serious enough. And you just kind of have to block it out. You know how to manage your time better than anyone else. And it's necessary. We're all adults. We can't all be students only forever.
Again, I just want to reinstate that the 444 plan works for me. It is tough, especially at this stage in writing now for prelims and going into the proposal and dissertation. So I'm not really taking classes, so it may not help you as much as it does for me, but like being a TA, which could be a full-time job, working for the state. I'm a trader, like option trader. And I'm a president of a non-for-profit and I own 2 businesses. So I have to manage my time in an effective way because I also have a wife, which is a full-time job. So I have to manage my time precisely so that I can get everything done effectively and still graduate on time. And so a lot of, I think it was Carolyn said, saying no. A lot of times I say no to, some fun events because I understand the position I'm in now. But again, for me, the 444 plan works for me. So that's how I do it.
So I can say, I think my experience is maybe a little bit different. And I think it's just because these things like assistantships and stuff just vary from department to department. So I have always had a teaching assistantship. Everyone that comes into my program has a teaching assistantship, which pays you a stipend. And then after a few years that you've been established in the lab, then that moves on to a research assistantship, which pays your stipend, your PI pays for that. So I guess I don't really know other graduate students in my department that work outside of that, like full-time, maybe part-time. Like I have some small things on the side that generate a little bit more income for me, but nothing that rises to the level of like a full-time job. Also, I could say, I guess one of the perks of being in a chemistry lab is that you really can't work on the weekends because you can't be there by yourself. So that's not safe. So if we want to work on the weekends, we have to drag someone else in our lab in there with us. And so I pretty much leave my weekends for family and friends.
Thanks for following up on those questions, y'all. Another follow-up to kind of thinking about networking is, sometimes you go into your grad school, you go in your first semester, you plan to work with this mentor, and it's great. You connect, you have a great relationship, a great, academic, they are asking you the right questions, you are being kind of guided. And other times, maybe it's a little bit of a struggle. Maybe you came in and you thought it was going to be different than it is, or your styles are very different, or the type of research that you thought you were going to be coming in and doing is kind of redirected another way, and you're like, well, what do I do? So I was wondering if anybody could discuss kind of what is your relationship with your advisor or other mentors or PIs, and how do you, I think Carolyn, you kind of spoke to this earlier about kind of being able to say no and advocating for yourself if there's a conference or something. And I was wondering if other folks had comments on that. You're building that relationship with your advisor or mentor, or maybe there was a struggle or issue that you kind of had to deal with, and how did you kind of go forward in that relationship? So I don't know, I saw Veronica nodding, or I don't know who wants, oh, Ankit, you want to speak? Okay.
I was just gonna say that, I like a big reason why I transferred to UIC was something like this, that I mean, so initially as an international student, when I moved to New York to do my PhD, my relationship with my advisor, it just did not work out. And it became very, very, very bad and sour at the end, where we just couldn't work together in any situation. The whole department was turning on me. And you have to realize after a point that even though the university will protect everyone's interests, you have to answer to the department as a student, especially as an incoming fresh graduate student, that why you are not being able to work with an advisor who is permanently trusted and believed in by the department. And it's not going to be an easy answer, because it can be your fault, it can be their fault, it can just be different styles, so many things can happen. But to sort of go beyond what Carolyn was saying about saying no, it's also important to prioritize and understand when to move on. For me, the reason I had taken up that job in New York, that grad student lab, was because it was a very high paying position. The research assistantship was covering a lot of things for me that some full-time jobs would probably not be able to cover. But I realized at a point that my mental health, my stress, my happiness, everything was deteriorating. I was diagnosed with clinical depression after working at that lab for 7 months. And you have to know when it is time to say that a relationship between you and your professional advisor is not going to work, and move on and just prioritize your own goals. Like now, the research I do, I am blessed to have like one of the kindest persons that I've ever worked with in my life, who takes an active interest in making sure that my mental health and my emotional health is taken care of alongside my work. So please know that UIC has ombudsperson offices. There are confidential support resources. And if you ever feel that you are getting outnumbered by your department, which is a very real thing, I promise, reach out to people outside your department, reach out to people at the university office level, and like ask yourself if it is time for you to move on, do what really makes you happy, or be with someone that really makes you happy. But yeah, that's it.
I'll go. So I came in with a very different research idea than I've ended up going with, and there's really no one in my department who does endometriosis research. And at first, my advisor was pretty resistant to my idea. If nothing else, just there's not an expertise in there in the department. And I really had to go out of my way to build a team around me to show that I could put this together and show that I could be resourceful. And now she's on board and she's so supportive and great, but she had a reason to be a little off-put by it at first. So sometimes even if things are a little tense, if your idea changes or your focus changes, showing that you're willing to put in the work can sometimes help. And other times you have to find another advisor and you have to do what's good for you. But just know that because it doesn't start perfect doesn't mean it can't end well.
Yeah, for me, it was really helpful to have regular meetings with my advisor, if that's possible. I know that sometimes it depends on how many students each advisor has and so forth, and the lab culture and the dynamic. But I had, I believe, weekly meetings with my advisor my first 2 years or so, and she recommended that I create a timeline with like long-term goals for the semester and the academic year. And then we had small step goals. So like what I'll finish for that week, what I'll finish for this month and so forth. So that was really helpful. It was like really clear kind of reference points to talk about in our meetings, like very concrete things that we can point to and discuss. And then if there is a topic that I'm really interested in and I want to suggest that idea, I read like 5 or 6 articles and then I summarized it into a table and I said like, this is something I want to try. I wanted to hear your thoughts, and that's how I got my advisor's feedback. And we started a new project that's slightly related to my advisor's research. And then I guess one thing I also try to do is take notes on 2 or 3 things you really want to talk about before like your meeting with the advisor or any other individuals. And then after the meeting, I have a Word document with each person. So I have a Word document from my first day at UIC with my advisor, and then I have another one with another faculty or my other colleagues. So it's like a really nice written document for me to keep track of what we're working on, what I want to talk about. And if you're not sure and they offer you something and you're not sure if your time or your energy allows you to accept that offer, I always say, can I think about it and check on like what I'm working on right now and get back to you like in a couple of days. So it's okay if you don't have the answer right away and if you're unsure. So I think that goes along with what other panelists were also sharing as well.
Wow, what wonderful tips and advice. And I love that, Veronica. I also say I do in a workshop, I talk about making that list, and then you send that little section of that list to your advisor to remind them what that they agreed to, right? After that meeting, to say, hey, just to follow up, like these are the 3 things we talked about, and this is what you agreed to. This is wonderful advice. And thank you, Kelly and Ankit, for sharing your stories and your journeys with mentorship and navigating that at the university. That was really powerful. As we're kind of coming to the end before maybe more student questions, I wanted to give everybody outside of these kind of posed questions, if you were sitting in the seat that these grad students are sitting in right now, maybe what's one piece of advice you wish you had known? What's one thing, that's really significant that you want to share with the graduate students today? It can be not related to any of these questions or whatever you want to say. I know we had a reverse order starting with Carolyn. So Carolyn, if you want to start.
So I noticed also in the chat that there was a question sort of about what I would recommend, asking about imposter syndrome, how you deal with that. So I still deal with this. This would be advice, I guess, to my former self and my current self, which is that you belong to be here. You earned your spot here. You were admitted here by your own merits shown through your application, right? You were deemed. It was deemed that you are appropriate to be here. So just to remind that to myself, because sometimes I just feel like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if, this is the right place for me. Like I've had all of those feelings. Along with that, I would say to like my first year self that it's okay and it's expected that you don't know things. Like for some reason, when I was admitted, I felt like, oh, they admitted me, so they think I know stuff and all this kind of thing. No, you're expected basically to know nothing, right? Like you're admitted to school because they want to teach you. They admitted you because they think you're teachable and you have potential, but you're not actually expected to know anything. So it's okay to be wrong. As a graduate student, I feel like I'm basically wrong for a living. That's what I do. So, be accepting of that and know that that's not something that's wrong with you. That's why you're here.
I was told a piece of advice that I think about all the time, and it's that a lot of people will complain and a lot of people will give you reasons why you shouldn't do something, but very few people actually have the will to stop you. So if you really want to do something, people don't have time to stop you. Just do it. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah, for me, I guess along with similar things what Caroline and Kelly shared. There's no one correct way to do things. So, you know, like sometimes I procrastinate and that's okay. Sometimes like you might be able to focus better on one day and then you might have to relax a little bit the next day. So it's okay. There's no one textbook, one way to do things. So have confidence in yourself and believe in yourself and your skills. And then just think about the process of finding your passion rather than like the end products, which I think like it's, you know, publications and your work goals are important, but just think about the process and like the long-term kind of experience as you learn and develop new skills. And then lastly, show appreciation for people's time and work, like the students and staff and faculty at UIC. I don't think I would have gone through my graduate program without their help. Like Theresa is here and Mr. Ben Williams and Kimberly Williams, they've been helping me with like grant applications and my coursework and all of those things I wouldn't know or go through without all of their support. So appreciate their time and be someone who others can also appreciate for your skills and experiences.
I think for me, the biggest advice that I can be is just be positive and don't really compare your graduate school journey with anyone else's. Like it may feel like you are not accomplishing much and you see your classmates or people around you doing so much more and having the time to do everything, and you sometimes feel like you're not good enough. But I think that your journey through graduate school is essentially a journey of self-discovery. So just, you know, follow your own pace and don't really compare it with anyone else's. You don't really know what other people are going through in their personal lives. Like there can be a new parent struggling to manage grad school and family. There can be people straight out of undergrad who are feeling lost, figuring out what their research interests are. I mean, everyone's journey is different. So, I mean, just focus on your own goals and I think just be positive and you'll be fine.
Everything Pritha just said. I think it's very important to just stay in your own lane. You know, you have goals. There are things you're going to learn along the way. One of the things I wish I would have did was knew exactly what I wanted to study and then focus all my time on that, because I was all over the place when I entered. I have a master's in public administration with a concentration in financial management, and I'm now getting a PhD in criminology, law, and justice. Yeah, no correlation whatsoever. But it's like she said, you learn along the way, be positive, and you'll get there. So thank you, Pritha.
Something that, you know, I mean, everyone touched upon really great subjects, but something that I wish I was told when I went into grad school is that there's not always a how question to problems you will face in grad school or in life. A question that you need to answer for yourself, and it's very important, is the who. Because in grad school, it's very common to feel lost, disoriented, confused, and never underestimate how strong people power is. Your mental health can be, you know, 100 times stronger if you are surrounded by the correct people. So I think the biggest thing that helps me through graduate school is being more resourceful. And no problem is unique to you. When I was coming to grad school through my journey, my visa has been put on hold. I have been put on a technical alert list when I was applying to grad school. I have been ostracized by an entire department at a university. I have been through millions of ups and downs. But the thing that always ultimately came to help me was knowing one kind person, was knowing somebody else who had faced the problem. And it's a very, very underrated thing that I really hope you take the time to find out for yourself is the who. Like, who can help me with this, or who do I reach out to with this problem? And when we met as a panel earlier in the week, we discussed like giving all of our contact information, making it public. So, and I'm like, I say this for myself, and I'm pretty sure for most of the other panelists, please reach out to us if you have anything that you want to ask, anything that you want to share. reach out to us. You're new at this university. You might be from a different state, a different country. You might not know anyone, but take this as, that now you know 5 or 6 people who will help. So definitely reach out to us, ask us if you have any problem, and build that network. Find people who will help you, and you'll just do fine in grad school.
I'm just like taken aback by all of this powerful commentary and these words of wisdom from you all. I know that we have a few moments left, so I do want to open it up to the students if you have any additional questions. Also know that our panelists' contact information is on the agenda, and so the second page of that agenda should have their bios as well as their contact information. And they very graciously opened up to hundreds of students their information. So so know that they're, we already know they're amazing folks from talking to them today as well. But is there any last questions, or maybe there's any questions y'all saw in the chat that I didn't catch that you want to answer in our last couple of minutes? Or maybe somebody brought something up that made you think of something else that you wanted to tell folks. No, we're good. Okay. Well, one of my favorite questions on the social side is, where is your favorite restaurant? Where's your favorite eats? Chicago's a foodie town. So where's your favorite place to go in the city for some food? Or dancing or coffee or whatever, however you want to answer that.
Oh, like doing buy one, get one free.
I love dessert. Oh, go ahead, Ankit.
I was going to say, if you have Instagram, then follow this page called Chicago Bucket List. They come up with the best and rarest restaurant activities around the city and give you discounts on that. So follow Chicago Bucket List. It's going to make your life way better.
If you've never had Chicago style pizza, also and you're interested in experiencing that, my favorite is Lou Malnati's. So I grew up here in Chicago. I've been eating Lou Malnati's my whole life. I plant the steak, that's my favorite. Also, I have celiac, so I have to eat gluten-free, and they have an awesome gluten-free pizza option. So that's my recommendation.
There was a question in the chat about vegan and vegetarian options. One of the students, Terry, I would say, again, Chipotle doing buy one, get one free, and Teacher Appreciation Day.
There's a lot of vegan and vegetarian restaurants in the city too. I know I passed by Handlebar the other day. I live up in Avondale on the north side, and there's a line outside all the time, but it's pretty popular. A lot of the places in Pilsen also have they have extended, a lot of Mexican food has extended vegetarian options as well. So I don't know. Yeah.
I was a vegetarian for 20 years. Chicago Diner, which I see someone in the chat said is great too. Handlebar is fantastic. So those are both like my favorite. Sushi Mon in Lincoln Park is a great sushi place. Yeah, those are some good places.
I live in Pilsen. I can second that Pilsen is a great place for Mexican food. Also, my boyfriend is Mexican, and he approves of a number of restaurants around my area. So he approves. He said it reminds him of the food that his mother used to make. So some of the places around there are his favorite.
I know one of the places that's like pretty affordable for students is, God, I just forgot the name of it. It was a pizza place on Taylor.
Bocce's?
Bocce's.
I used to live by Bocce's. I remember Bocce's.
Yeah, Bocce's is pretty affordable.
And you'll realize if you're new to Chicago, there's a big pizza debate. I disagree with Carolyn. I don't like Lou Malnati's. I know the Chicago OG people from here, but it's okay. We all have our different, some people like New York. I'm from California, so maybe I have a different.
What's your favorite then?
Depending on what's on the inside, I tend to like the Gino sauce. Pequods is also delicious.
Oh, Pequods is great.
It's a crust thing. So y'all, if you can't talk to anybody else and you need to make a friend, just ask them where do they get their pizza. I think it's a good starter. So, all right. Well, look in the chat. There's a lot of other suggestions. I really want to give a round of applause. I wish you could hear the applause from the room to our amazing panel. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, for being here and telling your story and your journey through graduate school and all the things that you've experienced and all of your knowledge and wisdom. And we hope to see you around campus, actually see you like soon. And or if not, we all have the contact information and please keep reaching out. So thank you so much. Round of applause. I'm sure I will just say that for the community of students that are here. So thank y'all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks,
y'all. Oh, clapping hands emoji. This is helpful. Awesome. Thank you so much for comments in the chat. All right, y'all. It's been already been like halfway through. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about health and wellness, campus care. We're going to talk about funding, graduate employee organization. So go ahead and take a 15-minute break and we shall be back. Have a good little break. Go make some tea, whatever you need to do. We'll see you soon. All right, well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you got a nice little break and a nice little jam out. I'm seeing some questions, Tara. I know you posted a couple of questions in the chat about like advising onboarding for orientation. So for grad orientation, it's different than undergrad orientation. They do that stuff in undergrad orientations because getting your classes ready and advising is so disparate across disciplines. I mean, we have 8,000 graduate students. We have almost over 1,000 coming in this semester. That's going to be done through your department. So hopefully there's some things that you can take regarding fellowships, campus care, the graduate student advice, and other resources today. But if for folks who haven't registered for classes yet, make sure, don't know who your advisor is or where your department is, try to find that contact person in your department. If not, reach out to us at the graduate college and we can help you find and contact that person. You all got reminders from me. My email is tchris1@uic.edu. I will drop that. If you're having trouble finding your department contact, we can help you do that. So just to let you know, for those of you who are like, wait, I thought we were going to register for stuff today. Sorry, that's not going to be happening today. But we do have information about something that's super important, and that is campus care, which I'm sure many of you want to know more about. So I do want to welcome Angela Staley, who is going to be talking to us. I think I had an introduction slide, so I'll just put that up really quickly. And Angela's going to be talking to us about graduate student health and wellness. So Angela, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing probably one of the most important things that the students need to know, especially in this time and coming to the university and dealing with health insurance and healthcare. So thanks for being here. I'm turning it over to you. You're on mute, Angela.
Sorry about that. My pleasure to be here. I've got a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if this works. All right. So what I'm going to go over with you today, let's see if it'll let me. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to go over with you today is the Campus Care program. Campus Care is the health insurance that we offer to students here at the university. Because health insurance coverage is mandatory, it's mandatory by the university that all students maintain major medical health insurance the entire time that you're registered for courses at the university. So because of that, we automatically enroll students into the Campus Care plan and assess the Campus Care fee on their tuition. You will have an opportunity to waive out of Campus Care if you have other insurance. And so what I'm going to go over first is I'm going to go over what Campus Care is, how we work, how you would use us, and then I'll go over with you how to waive out of Campus Care if you have other health insurance that you're planning on using. A few things to know about us. We are a self-funded student health benefit plan, and what that means is we are not funded by the state and we are not funded by the university. We are fully funded by our student premiums. And we work in conjunction with the Student Health Service Fee to provide comprehensive benefits to our members. We are an entirely web-based program. Everything I go over with you here, as well as a ton of other good information, can be found on our website. Easiest way to find us is just Google Campus Care. We're the first couple of websites that show up. So Campus Care works like a traditional HMO program. What that means is all of your services need to happen in network. And all of your services that are not emergency should start with your primary care physician. The primary care site for the Chicago campus is the UI Health Department of Family Medicine. And then the specialty care in the hospital is the UI Health Hospital and Health Sciences System. So the most important thing anytime you have any HMO plan is if you're not having an emergency, what you need to do is first reach out to your primary care physician and get an authorized referral before going to any specialty clinic in order for that to be covered by us. A couple of reasons to choose Campus Care over some of the other plans that are available to you out in the marketplace is we have no deductible. We're going to start covering you at 100% from day one, which was August 16th, so that was Monday. We have minimal out-of-pocket expenses. We work really hard to keep our premiums as low as we can and to keep our co-pays and co-insurances as low as we can. We are one of the most affordable student health benefit programs in the area. We do include a pharmacy benefit. We don't exclude for pre-existing conditions, and we do meet minimal essential coverage underneath the Affordable Care Act. With the Affordable Care Act, we are required to send out a 1095B form to every single one of our members every single beginning of the year. In order to do that, the most efficient way possible is to have that sent to you electronically so that you can just download it when you need it to do your taxes. In order to send you your 1095B form electronically, you first have to give us permission. So what's going to happen is coming up in October, you'll get an email from us. It's going to let you know how to sign up so that we can submit that to you electronically. Of course, if you'd rather have it mailed to you, that is an option, and you don't have to sign up to have it sent electronically, but that is definitely the easiest way for you to get it. With emails, make sure that you have every single email address that you would want us to email in your My UIC account, and that if you see an email from Campus Care, take a moment and read it. I know you guys get a ton of email from the university. We only email when there's something important happening. We are going to email to remind you to get your tax forms. We're going to email you when it's time to waive out again. And we're going to email you when it's time to sign up for summer coverage. And then with COVID, we have sent a couple of emails just letting students know about our updated temporary COVID-19 policy changes. So if you see an email from us, take a moment, read it. It could end up saving you a lot of money while you're here at the university. This is a quick snapshot of our benefits summary. As you can see, we cover most things at 100% minus a copay. Your inpatient hospital admission will have a $50 copay. Outpatient services at the hospital, things like lab tests, MRIs, x-rays, have no copay. They're covered at 100%. Physician services, it doesn't matter if it's with a specialist or with a PCP that has with a specialist or a PCP, that's going to have a $15 copay. And then for emergency room visits, we would cover if you're going in network at 100% minus a $50 copay. And when we are not in a pandemic and we are not doing our temporary policy changes, our out-of-network ER is covered at 70% minus a $50 copay, and then students would be responsible for 30% plus a $50 copay. Please make sure that you take a look on our website on our COVID-19 page. We're constantly updating that as policies change and as we make temporary policies to accommodate students who may not be in the Illinois area at the time. This is the physical addresses of our providers and locations. Again, family medicine, it's located on campus at University Village. That's at the corner of Maxwell and Halstead. They have appointments available Monday through Saturday to see our members. And they do offer telehealth appointments so that you can have a telehealth appointment if you don't want to come into campus, into the health center. The hospital is located on our West Campus in the medical district. That's located at the corner of Maxwell and Halstead. And that's also where the OCC, where most of the specialty care is housed. The phone number here is the phone number that you're going to use to get in touch with family medicine. Reasons that you would be calling them is to make an appointment or to speak with the physician to get an authorized referral to go to a specialty clinic, or to call and speak with the physician or nurse who is on call 24/7, 365. Now, the only time that we cover an urgent care visit is if you contact your primary care physician first, or anyone, whoever is on call at this phone number, and they direct you to go to an urgent care. That is when we would cover an urgent care visit. So if you're in a situation where you're just not sure if what you're having is truly an emergency, that you don't know that you can wait until the next day to come in and see a physician, give this phone number a call, speak with the physician who's on call, and they will direct your care. And if they direct your care, then it's something that we would cover. We do have a pharmacy benefit. If you walk into one of these two pharmacies, they're on our campus. All that you're going to pay up front is your copay. We have a $10 copay for generic, a $20 copay for brand, And for anything not listed on our formulary, it would be a $40 copay plus 10% coinsurance. We have a pretty robust formulary. A good number of medications are on there, and we have that formulary listed on our website so that you can take a look at that ahead of time and know where your medication falls in that tier. Now, if one of these two pharmacies isn't convenient for you, you're not restricted to just them. If you prefer Walgreens, CVS, Target, a local neighborhood pharmacy, that's absolutely fine. You can pick your prescriptions up there. The only difference is because we're such a small self-funded student health benefit plan, there is no way for those large pharmacies to bill us directly. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to pay upfront for the cost of your medications and then submit a claim to us for reimbursement. And that is a process that happens through the mail, and it can take about 4 to 6 weeks. What you would need to send to us is a original receipt that shows how much you paid for the medication, the prescription identification sheet, it's that pamphlet that they usually staple to the bag that explains what the medication is, and then a cover letter that has your name, your UIN, that you're requesting pharmacy reimbursement, and your address. And then a check will get mailed back to you. Again, the cheapest, easiest upfront out-of-pocket cost to you would be to go to one of these two pharmacies that are on campus. But if you prefer to use a different pharmacy, that's fine. Just be prepared to send that claim into us for reimbursement. This is an example of a Campus Care ID card. We don't mail these out. When we mail out our 1095B forms, we get literally thousands back as undeliverable. The same thing would happen with our ID cards. We're online, so you can go to our website, and from our homepage, you'll see a link that says print your ID card. While you're going to UI Health, you can use your iCard at most clinics. Most of UI Health knows who we are. They know how to bill us directly. We still recommend that you print this out once every academic year. That way you have a copy on hand in the event that you're going to an out-of-network emergency room. That way they have all of the information that they need to bill us directly. We will pay for one routine eye exam per year at the Eye and Ear Infirmary on campus or at the Millennium Park Eye Center downtown. All other vision services besides that, such as getting glasses or contacts, and all of your dental services go through a third-party vision and dental discount program. And what this program provides is a discount on getting glasses and contacts and your dental services. Because it isn't run by us, it's run by a third party, you're not restricted to UI Health. They do have a nationwide network of dentists and vision providers that are in network with them. So to find out, what you would do is you'd go to our website, you would click on benefits, you'd scroll down to vision or dental, depending on which you need. And then you can go to locate dental provider. Once you click that, you'll be prompted to put in your zip code, and a list of providers in your area will populate, as well as a general idea of the discount that they're offering. Because we don't run this program, we don't have the most up-to-date information about who's in network and what level of discount they're offering. So specific questions about the vision and dental discount program should be directed to United Health Programs. And we do have their 1-800 number on our website. We're currently in an open enrollment period. So we have an open enrollment period every single semester. We always start that open enrollment period at least 45 days prior to the start of the semester, and we let it go a few weeks after the beginning of the semester to allow students time to submit their paperwork. It is during our open enrollment period that you can add or delete dependents from coverage to Campus Care, and it's also when you can waive out of Campus Care. Now, this is the only time you can waive out of the Campus Care program and get that fee removed from your tuition, is when we are having an open enrollment period. To waive Campus Care, you need to have Affordable Care Act compliant coverage in order to waive, and you need to go to our website and submit that waiver form prior to the deadline date. And the deadline date for the fall semester is September 12th. It's always September 12th, every single fall semester. We do that to make it easy for everyone to remember. By September 12th, every academic year, I need to submit my waiver to Campus Care. Waivers are good for one academic year. That's fall, spring, and summer in that order. So if you submit a waiver in fall, you don't need to submit another one till the following fall. If you submit it in spring, you don't need to submit another one to the following fall. Same thing for summer. So just each fall, make sure you're submitting that waiver. And we do send out reminder emails in the summer, reminding students that they need to resubmit that waiver each academic year. And here's how you would submit that waiver. You'd go to our website, and when you scroll down below the picture of the skyline, you'll see a button that says waivers. Once you click that, you're going to be prompted to sign in with your net ID and your password. And then you'll see a box that says make a new request. It's the second box underneath your status for the current semester. And what you'll see there is request waiver for fall 2021. This is also where you'll go to print your ID card, to download your 1095B forms. You can also request to add dependents. You can also request to reinstate into our program through here. But for waiving, what you'll see there is request waiver for fall 2021. Once you click that, you'll be asked to put in 4 pieces of information. We need your health insurance company's name. We need their ID number, group number if it applies, and the customer service phone number. We do not want or have a place for you to upload a copy of your insurance card. If you do not have your insurance card handy, you can still fill out this form by our deadline date. Please call your insurance company and get those 4 pieces of information that we need so that you can get this waiver turned in on time. Once you click that submit button, a tracking number is going to show up both on your screen and will be emailed to your UIC email address. If you do not get that tracking number in your UIC email address, check your spam. And if you don't see it there, that means something went wrong with the submission of that waiver form. Go back in, resubmit that waiver. Normally that happens when a phone number gets put in with the wrong combination. Once we get that in our office, we'll verify your coverage, and then you'll get an email back from us within 3 to 5 days, usually much faster, but 3 to 5 days if we're really slammed with waivers, letting you know whether or not we have accepted or denied your waiver. Now, the only reason we deny waivers is if we get the wrong phone number. That's actually the #1 reason that we deny waivers is we get primary care physician phone numbers or personal cell phone numbers. And we need that customer service phone number that's usually on the back of the card so we can call and verify coverage. We would also deny the waiver if the coverage has terminated or if it's not ACA compliant. Every so often we still get a life insurance policy or a dental policy. And then once we accept that waiver within 7 to 10 business days, that fee will be removed from your account. Now, this is the only way you can waive out of campus care. We don't accept it by fax. There are no paper forms to fill out. You can't email us your insurance information, and we do not accept waivers from any other department. If you have to show anybody else on this campus your health insurance card for any reason, and they tell you that this counts as your campus care waiver, they are mistaken. Unless you've come to our website, you have filled out this waiver form, and you have gotten the approval back, you have not waived out of campus care. Now, students can reinstate back into our program at any time. So don't worry, if you waive out of campus care for the fall semester, at any time that you're registered for courses, if you lose your insurance, if you just decide that campus care is going to be a better program for you, you can sign up for campus care. You would just go back into the website, log in, and instead of a waiver form, what you'll see available to you is a reinstatement form. We also allow members to add dependents onto their plan. You can add on a spouse, civil union partner, and eligible children up to the age of 26 onto the plan. Now, there is an additional cost for that, and the instructions for doing that are on our website, and you can also give us a call or email us, and we can walk you through that. As I mentioned before, fall semester coverage began on August 16th, and it's going to go through the end of the semester to the end of the year, which is December 31st. January coverage begins right away on January 1st and then goes through mid-May. Summer coverage begins mid-May and goes through August 15th. We don't have any gaps in coverage, and we allow any student that had spring coverage to sign up for campus care for the summer term, even if they're not enrolled in courses. That way we don't have any gaps in coverage for students that wish to keep campus care through the summer. The fee for fall semester is $697. Spring semester is also $697. And then summer semester, because it's a shorter number of weeks, is a little bit less. And I don't have the new premium, but I believe it's $461 for the summer 2022 semester. And again, the deadline date to waive out and the deadline date to add your dependents would be September 12th. Okay. Also, I want to point out that that is a hard and fast deadline date. We have to have waivers by September 12th. If we don't have them by September 12th, if we get a waiver request on September 13th or any day after that, there is absolutely nothing we can do. It's out of our hands at that point, no matter how much we want to help. So if you do forget to waive for fall, you do have the opportunity to waive it again in spring. Anytime we have an open enrollment period, you're eligible to submit that waiver for campus care. We're a tiny office. There are 3 of us who work at Campus Care. Right now, we are working remotely, so if you give us a call, you're going to get our voicemail. You leave us a message. We work hard to make sure that we're returning voicemails same business day, as long as we get that call by the end close of business day or the next business day. The fastest way to get a response from one of us, though, is to email us. You can email us at cchhelp@uic.edu, or you can use the contact us link on our website. And that is what I have. Do we have time for some questions?
We do have some time.
Oh, perfect.
Do you want to, okay, yeah, I can just throw them out, Angela, if that sounds good. So there's a ton of questions. We'll get through what we can.
Okay.
And some of them I think you have answered, so I might skip over those ones just for folks that are attending to know. When should we cancel the current health insurance that we have if we're doing if they're getting campus care, when will it become active?
So your campus care, as long as you're registered for courses by September 12th, your campus care coverage began on August 16th. So when you choose to cancel your current coverage is up to you. But
Okay.
it did begin on August 16th.
I have a question. Are you able to use FSA spending cards to pay for copays for medical providers and prescriptions? I don't know. Maybe that's a specific to follow up.
Yeah, that I'm not sure the answer of. If you send us an email about that, I'll take a look into that and find out if you can use an HSA card at UI Health to pay for copays.
Okay. So Imani, maybe you follow up with that one.
Yeah.
Is this just for domestic graduate students? Do international students have something different? There's something mentioned called Wellfleet health insurance, or is this insurance also for domestic and international graduate students?
This insurance is for everyone except students who are in the Global Health Program. So if you are a graduate student who is in the Global Health Program, you have a separate insurance plan, and they will go over that with you in the Global Health Department. I am not sure what Wellfleet is. You can reach out to the Office of International Students and they'll let you know what that program is.
Thank you. From Abigail, what's the difference between the campus care and the student health service fee? How does coverage change if I enroll in campus care, but I am not a student, like during the summer?
So your coverage won't change at all. So the student health service fee is a mandatory fee that all students have to pay, regardless of what insurance you have. And it covers very specific things at the Family Medicine Center, very specific prescriptions at the pharmacy, the Wellness Center, and the Counseling Center. If you are not a student in the summer, but you choose that continuation of coverage from campus care, your coverage doesn't change. So what happens with the student health service fee versus campus care kind of happens in the background, and it's something that won't affect you, even if you're not taking courses in the summer.
Forgive me if I missed it. Is there a list of medications that are covered somewhere?
Yes. So our formulary is listed on our website. So if you go to campuscare.uic.edu, click on benefits, scroll down to pharmacy, there's a link there that goes to our formulary. Now, just because a medication isn't listed on our formulary doesn't mean it's not covered. It just means that it's covered at that $40 copay plus 10% coinsurance, unless it's excluded by plan. There are very few medications that we exclude. I would say things for infertility, things that are not medically necessary, and I believe we exclude most experimental drugs that aren't approved yet. But other than that, it's a covered benefit, and it would just have that $40 copay plus 10% coinsurance.
Thank you. I see another question, but that was answered. So yes, the health service fee is separate from if you've waived out of campus care, for someone who was asking that. Folks that are following up on things happened earlier, we will respond to that in a little while. In the campus care certificate of coverage, it says the medical care needed for injuries or sickness caused by, quote, high risk physical activities are not covered. How do we know if something will be considered a, quote, high risk activity?
Ah, somebody's been reading our certificate of coverage. Bravo. What I can say is in the 6 years that I've been at campus care, I don't think we've ever denied a claim for a high risk activity. But I guess the best example I would have is if you were jumping from an airplane for leisure and you broke your ankle, that might not be something that we cover. That would be up to our medical director.
Great. And yes, if you have health insurance through your employer, you can waive out. We did talk about that. And folks, maybe if you missed a portion of it, we will have this loaded on the website later so you can rewatch all of this information. The $1,855 cost for a spouse, is that an additional cost with the student cost or total?
That is an additional cost. I see someone asking about fencing. Again, it's more very high risk. You know, if you injure yourself playing a sport, that is something that we would cover. Again, in the 6 years I've been at campus care, I don't believe that we have ever denied a claim because of high risk physical activity.
I've never heard that question either in our 11 years
Yeah,
doing That's a good question. Bravo. Really reading that fine print. In the spouse fee, because it's so much, can it be separated over months or is it have to be paid up front for?
So we charge your tuition. So however you pay your tuition is between you and the university. So if you're on a payment plan with the university, that's between you and the university. We don't care.
All right. Since the dental is separate coverage, can we enroll at any time for dental?
No. The discount dental program is just part of the campus care program. So if you reinstate into campus care, you'll have that discount dental program. If you waive out of campus care, then you don't have the discount dental program.
Is there any comparison with coverage through like Medicaid? How does campus care work with that?
So if you're trying to compare our plan to a plan that is in Medicaid, what you can do is you can go to the Medicaid website. You can pull up something called an SCB, and then we also have an SCB on our website, which would show you kind of the comparison between us and Medicaid.
If there's an insurance plan from another state, is that going to be denied in the waiver system for campus care?
As long as you have health insurance that meets ACA criteria, which means it covers you in the US for primary care, specialty care, emergency room care, and in and outpatient hospital care, then you can use that to waive, even if it's from a different state.
Okay. I have a question from Robert. My wife and I live about an hour from campus. If she needed to see a specialist, does she have to see one on campus, or would she be able to get a phone referral for one closer to where they live if they live, your student living about an hour away?
So we are a HMO plan, which means that services do need to be provided in network. So she would be referred to an in-network specialist at UI Health.
What about in the instance of emergencies, like someone that has a child, for example, with like asthma and there's an emergency and can't go to UIC? Is that something?
That's the nearest emergency room as soon as possible. If you're having a true life-threatening emergency, what I tell students is if you have time to call family medicine to talk with the physician on call, then call them. If you don't, then you're having an emergency and we want you to get to the nearest emergency room. When we are not in a COVID-19 pandemic, we cover out-of-network emergency room at what's called usual and customary, which means it's a 70% co-insurance that we would cover. We would cover 70% of the bill minus a $50 copay, and then students would pay 30% plus a $50 copay. There's some caveats to that. We do have some on our website, hospitals that are considered in-network for emergency room only. It's most of the advocate hospitals in the area. But right now, because we're having a pandemic and we have students who are scattered all over, we are covering all authorized out-of-network services at the same rate as in-network. Now, for an emergency room visit, you don't have time to call and get official authorization. So if it's a true life-threatening emergency, go to the nearest emergency room up through the end of the semester. That's going to be covered with a $50 copay. And an asthma attack would definitely be going to be an emergency.
Great. So let us
asking about a broken bone. No, if you don't have time to call, if it hurts too much to call, don't get to the ER. It's an emergency.
I'm seeing a lot of, there's questions about, there's a lot of specific questions. So if I think folks have specific questions, I would definitely try to reach out about those specific questions. I also am seeing, okay. I think in general, people are asking their specific ones. Maybe I'm missing any. If you see any, Angela, that also maybe we haven't answered, I don't know. Oh, are mental health and birth control covered? That's an important one.
Mental health services are absolutely covered. Students can get, I believe it's 10 or 20 sessions at the counseling center. That's completely separate from campus care. With campus care, you would go to your primary care physician, then you get an authorized referral to an in-network location. Our first in-network location is always UI Health. If for some reason you can't be seen at UI Health, if there are, for some of our medical students, there are privacy concerns, if the wait times are ridiculous, depending on what's going on, you can reach back out to your primary care physician, and we do have a secondary list of in-network providers for mental health. For birth control, IUDs are covered by us. All other birth control is covered by the student health service fee, and we have a blurb about that on our website. If you go to campus care, go down to the student health service fee, it'll kind of explain how that process works. But yes, as a student at UIC, birth control is covered.
Great. And then I'll do two last. I know we're running a little over, but we had like a whole bunch of them. So when you get the premium billed, is that alongside the tuition and fees, or is it a separate bill that students will get?
It's one of the mandatory fees. So it's billed to your tuition account alongside other tuition and mandatory fees.
Okay. And the last question, anything regarding pre-existing conditions and campus care?
We do not exclude the pre-existing conditions.
All right, well, I know we didn't get to every single question on here, y'all, but we do want to be respectful of time and thank Angela so much for coming today and presenting to us the ins and outs of campus care. Know that this presentation will be available later on the Graduate College website, and that also you have the email that was put up, and maybe you can drop it one more time in the chat for the reach out. But Angela, thank you so much for offering all of that information in such a short, compact period, and we always appreciate you coming to share with us about campus care. So thanks so much. We appreciate you, and hopefully we won't see you too much soon. And that means folks are dealing with what they're dealing with. But thank you again. And
again, just reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks so much, Angela.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we're going from graduate student health and wellness. Oh, I like to put our little PhD comics in there. What happens when we're in grad school? Maybe we need caffeine. And so this is from PhD comics. What do you do over the course of grad school? I don't know. Check them out if you haven't checked out the PhD comics. But now we're up for the graduate employee organization. So I want to turn it over to our two representatives in GEO leadership, Jared O'Connor and Adam Pratt, to talk to you about the GEO.
Great, thank you, Theresa. Adam, are you going to do the presenting here?
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Great.
Let's see. I think I fixed the PowerPoint. If I can figure out how to make it full screen. you. Full screen mode. Okay. So, hi, I'm Adam Pratt. I'm one of the co-presidents of UIC Graduate Employees Organization. I'm a 5th year in the math department, and I'm currently an RA, but I've been a TA many times before. And Jared, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Jared O'Connor. I'm a PhD student, 5th year now. Wow, it's going by so fast. 5th year in the English department, and I am a TA and teach a variety of courses in the English department. And we're going to talk to you today about the Graduate Employee Organization, the GEO, which is the Graduate Employee Labor Union, representing all TAs and GAs at the UIC campus.
Yeah, so like Jared said, we're the labor union. The Graduate Employees Organization is the labor union that represents all TAs and GAs at UIC with an appointment between 25 and 67%. So that's over 1,600 graduate employees at UIC. And this is a little bit of history about the Graduate Employees Organization. So back in the 90s, UIC GEO formed when grad workers in English met to discuss their unreasonable workloads. Then back in the late 90s and early 2000s, GEO organized to demand and won vision and dental insurance for grad students. And then back in the mid 2000s, GEO actually won recognition as a union and negotiated our first contract, which included health insurance and better pay.
Hey, Adam, it is not changing on my screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me go back. Resume share. Let's see. It's not letting me resume share.
I have it pulled up here if you want me to just share real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, we'll just do it kind of.
We've had some tech stuff already, so we're going
going with the flow here. We'll make it work. Thanks, Theresa. So the GEO, there's our last slide there. What we do is we have two kind of main functions here. We do two things. We do, first and foremost, is our contract bargaining, which literally means we sit down with the university. On the right side of the screen there, you'll see the agreement page between the Board of Trustees of the UI system and our union, Local 6297. And we literally sit down across from the university and bargain for an equitable contract for all grad workers, which our contract includes multitudes of things, but namely wages and raises are always of utmost importance. In the last contract cycle, we got a 14% raise over the 3 years, which is pretty outstanding. We also bargain over workloads, including hours and TA class sizes, evaluations and disciplines, benefit leaves and holidays. All these things and a lot more are included in our contract bargaining. And actually, our contract that you see, the agreement right there, just expired on August 15th. So we are in the throes of negotiating a new contract right now. And the second thing we do is grievances. So this is the GEO will represent any employee who is in the middle of a dispute with their supervisor. So if there's something wrong, let's say with your academic advisor, if there's something kind of going wrong, we could talk about it and serve as your representative. And we will serve as a resource and an authority on the contract in order to ensure that you have due process. So those are our two kind of main functions: is bargaining, increasing our contract and making sure the contract is equitable for all workers, and then representing you if there's any sort of issues at work.
So a little bit about what we've won in the past with our contract bargaining. So back in 2019, after over a year in bargaining, we went on strike for over 3 weeks and won the largest raises in our history. So like Jared said, that was a 14% raise over the 3 years of the contract. fee freezes and reductions in fees. So we got the two largest fees, the general fee and the international student fee, cut in half. And all of the other fees were totally frozen, so they couldn't increase for the duration of the contract. We got better healthcare coverage. We got better transparency in appointments and additional non-discrimination protections. So we added immigration status and arrest record to the non-discrimination policy in our contract.
All right. Oops. And as we're going, I'm linking a link to the membership card that you can fill out either now or at the end of the presentation. So that's in the chat right now. So one of the things that we did during COVID was what you call impact bargaining, which literally means you're bargaining over something that's impacting your work. We bargained immediately when COVID hit in March, and then we bargained for about a year in various iterations. It was actually crazy and exhausting, but we made some really significant wins, including protecting the safety of our graduate workers, which means we were able to receive free summer housing on campus dorms for international workers and students who were furloughed in the States during the pandemic. We also won full campus care coverage for COVID-related care, and that was both in network and out of network, which is huge for many of our members who left the Chicago area. We got a creation of hundreds of new jobs during the summer to ensure that people wouldn't experience further, economic hardship as a result of COVID. We ensured that every worker on campus would both receive a mask or a couple of masks, and we also won, a big one was a process to apply for one-year extensions with a commitment to funding at your department level, which is significant because many people's research was significantly interrupted because of COVID. So having that extra year guaranteed with a commitment to funding was really, really important for our members.
So a little bit about how we operate. GEO is entirely member run. So you fill out and submit a membership card, and filling out a membership card allows you to vote and help run the union. Membership, we do pay dues. That's 2.4% of your paycheck automatically deducted from each paycheck. It's a pretty small amount. If you're at a 50% appointment, it's about $45 a month, I think. It's pretty small. It's not something I've ever really missed, and it's totally worth it. I think every contract we've ever had, we've gotten raises that have totally offset the cost of dues. So our last contract, we got raises that were 4.5% each year. So that's greater than the 2.4% cost of dues. And so it's totally worth it. I think we were making, if you normalize our paycheck to a yearly paycheck, we were making like $4,000 less a year when I first came here before the strike. And so it's totally paid for itself in the time I've been here. And you can revoke your membership request in August. So there's 2 signatures on the membership card. One is to pay dues, and one is to say that you can only revoke your membership by written request in August. This is entirely standard for education unions, and that's just so that we can set our finances for the year, so people aren't dropping at random times throughout the year. And so we kind of have an idea of what our finances are going to look like for the entire year. And joining isn't a time commitment. You can be as involved or not involved as you want. Some ways you can be involved but don't have to be are you can attend membership meetings, you can participate in actions in support of bargaining or issue campaigns, you can join a committee or become a departmental steward, and you can become a leader in the union.
And just, we'd like to be really transparent with how we use okay, thank you, Jamie. Sorry, getting some direct messages about how this chat's working here. Because people are sending in, so I'll rehash it at the end here. But we like to be really transparent in how we use dues, since we're a member-run union. This is exactly what our budget looks like, right? Our dues are used to pay our only staff person whose work is really essential and critical in ensuring that we, are organized, that we have all the sort of logistical data like amalgamated. So we're grad students, we're really, really busy. So our dues pay our only staff person to do that. It also pays for our office space, which is in the Rice building, right off campus, off the Halstead Blue Line. It also is used to pay for our legal counsel on any major issues. This includes like bargaining, right? Well, we often will contact our lawyer for guidance, but also if like say you're in a grievance and then you need it goes all the way up, your dues will pay for that legal counsel, and then the rest is used for like communication materials, right? Those are like buttons, pamphlets, flyers, things like that, and that's basically our entire budget is used for these 4 things, and the dues are our source of funding.
So like Jared said, we're currently in the middle of bargaining a new contract. We're several months into bargaining our new contract. We've made some pretty good progress so far. We have a lot ahead of us. Some things we're hoping to make progress on are changes to appointment terms, a big overhaul of the sexual harassment and discrimination policies, decreasing the cost of healthcare and improving access to healthcare, eliminating fees entirely, and across the board raises and increases to the minimum pay. But it's really important to note that we can't get any of these things unless we have really strong numbers. So it's very, very critical that you sign a membership card. We really can't get these things if you don't sign membership cards.
Yeah, my favorite refrain is it takes a village, right? We can't do it alone. We need everybody to be participating, or everybody to be, signing a membership card, so we actually are a strong body with a sort of unified voice to make sure that we get these things, right? We all want raises, we all want better healthcare, we all want cheaper healthcare, right? We all want elimination of fees, we don't want to pay to work, we want better sexual harassment and discrimination overhaul coverage, right? We want all these things, and we can't get them unless we work together as a union, as a body. Here's a couple ways you can get involved with the union. Besides filling out a membership card, of course, is kind of just the baseline, right? It gets you in the union, it makes you a voting member. But we have a few events coming up where you can mix and mingle with other grad workers outside of these orientations and outside of your department. So the first will be a fall social, which will be a small little catered event. Will be on Wednesday, September 1st at 5:30. Place TBH with the new mask mandate in Chicago, so we're trying to figure that out. But we will be in touch as soon as we know. And then we'll have a little more formal of a meeting. It's called the general membership meeting, where we go over, our yearly budget and bargaining updates. And then at any of these events, you are welcome to bring any sort of concerns you have to the floor. This is where you can bring any sort of grievances or problems, and we will work as a body, as a union, to make sure we're addressing those. We are in the middle of bargaining now. Oh, that general membership meeting, sorry, will be on September 15th at 5:30 in Gallery 400, which is on the art building on kind of the other side of campus over that little bridge. And then we have been bargaining all summer. I think we just finished our 8th bargaining session, but the first bargaining session of the semester will be announced very soon. It will be the second week of classes via Zoom. And anybody in the union is welcome to come to these. And it actually looks great for us when we have a ton of members in the room, right? Because it shows that we're a unified body. And the last kind of way to get involved is become a departmental steward, which basically means you're a liaison between your department and the union. So any sort of information you hear at your department, you can bring to the union, and vice versa. And this is a really kind of low stakes way to get involved in the union. I think I started as a steward. I think Adam started as a steward. It's just kind of ways to get your feet wet, right, in the union, and understand kind of both how the university works a little more bureaucratically and how the union operates as well. So now there is a website. If you actually click that, Ashley, there is a website. If you click that membership card, it'll take you to the website, and then there's, you'll see you can navigate our contracts on there, our full contract, or in both a searchable version, about us, who the officers are, all that information is online there. But we have, oops, sorry, Teresa, I didn't mean to send that right to you. We have like a minute. Jacob, there's no links to the events quite yet, but we will send it out in emails. We have all your emails, so we will be sending those out as closer to the dates of those of those events. So right now it is the 1st and the 15th are the event dates, but we will be in touch via email. And Emily, about the next bargaining session, yes, we will be in touch as well. We email those. We give about 2 notices before the bargaining. They are on Zoom, and yeah, it's kind of really interesting to watch. It's kind of like watching theater sometimes. So I highly recommend you all come out for that as well. And I think we're just about out of time, Teresa. All right. Well, thank you, Graduate College, for having us. And thank you, Theresa. And you can email me or that email there, the staff@uicgeo.net, if you have any more questions or concerns. And please do make sure you fill out your membership card.
Great. Thank you so much, Jared and Adam, for all that information with GEO. I know, sorry, we ran out of time, but hopefully information, and you can reach out to the org for more questions. So thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, we are getting to our last 2 presentations for today. Important ones, getting you money and getting you a career. I think those are things we want out of graduate school, right? So, oh wait, this is one I found. Fellowship and free food. I'm totally in. So I thought our next presenter would appreciate that. Maybe the free food, we gotta wait till everything starts. But I'm here to present about successful approaches to funding your graduate education. I want to welcome our amazing graduate college staff, both Ben Williams and Lindsay Marshall. Ben Williams is a fellowships and awards coordinator for the graduate college. And Lindsay Marshall is a program director, writing specialist and academic advisor for the graduate college. In addition, they have someone here that is also a graduate student to share about stories about funding your education. Nancy Dominguez-Fret is a doctoral student in literacy, language, and culture. And so thank you all for being here today and talking to students straight off about funding your graduate education and some tips and tricks to take. So thanks all for being here.
Thank you, Theresa. And I'm going to hold my microphone because I've had some static issues earlier today. And I feel confined because I like to walk around the stage when I do presentations. So I'm just going to sit here in my chair and squirm. Well, first of all, welcome. I know you've heard that a lot today, and I apologize if I speak too quickly. That's why I put the slide deck in the chat. So that's a PDF. Welcome to UIC. You're likely going to see our names and emails again. In fact, on Friday, you probably received an email from me, the weekly funding email. We'll talk about the funding email in a few minutes. I want to talk about Lindsay Marshall, she, her, his. I'm he, him, his. Lindsay is, at least until next week, a graduate assistant. On Monday, she starts her brand new position in the graduate college. That was noted on the slide. She's also a PhD student in English. I, Ben Williams, am the Fellowships and Awards Coordinator, as Theresa said. However, like Theresa, eons ago, I think was the phrase she used earlier, I was a graduate student in history here at UIC, and I've held several positions at the university. In short, we have been in your shoes. Also, we have a new hire as of Monday, just a couple of days ago, Elizabeth Maher, she, her, hers. She is a doctoral student in history, and she is in your shoes. She just got there. She'll be assisting with funding matters for the foreseeable future. All right, next slide. As you are likely new to UIC, you may be scurrying around to fund your education. This is perfectly understandable, and we will try to help. However, I should dispel some myths about the graduate college. We do not have bottomless pits of money. Sadly, it's just not true. If graduate education is rather a new concept to you, on our website, we have a section called Graduate Funding Overview. You can see the link at the bottom of the slide. And your first point of contact is your own department. Either the Director of Graduate Studies, you'll hear DGS thrown around a lot today and throughout the rest of your career at UIC, and or you're a dedicated graduate staff member. So talk with them and also talk with more senior students in your program. How are they funded? In terms of the graduate college or internal funding, please be aware that many of our competitions are for terminal degree students. In most cases, that means PhD students. The MFA is also a terminal degree, so that's the example of a master's degree. So along those lines, get to know your DGS and your support staff. I do want to point out that we do not control or have any role in the assistantship process. So if you're looking for a TA-ship or an RA-ship, we are not your place to go to. In fact, we file unsolicited CVs into the electronic dustbin. Next slide. It's never too early to look for funding. And at the graduate level, essentially everyone has financial need, especially at UIC. Thus, research and academic merit, specific coursework, and prior accomplishments are going to matter more, not your financial need. And this slide shows the landing page for our internal funding. We are in the process of reevaluating all of our internal funding mechanisms, so the website will be updated in the coming month. Again, you got the link in the chat for the slide deck. The graduate college is not flush with cash, but we do run competitions. We advertise these opportunities, but you'll still need to look elsewhere. Finding external funding can be daunting. We try to ease your anxiety by curating a weekly email of funding opportunities. Don't worry if you didn't receive last week's email. We update the subscription list frequently this time of year. No further action is required on your part. We send out weekly emails to whet your appetite. Complementing our website, the funding email is a strong resource to learn about UIC, U of I system, national, even international funding opportunities, and sometimes job opportunities. We typically feature opportunities with deadlines the next 1 to 3 months. We try to strike a balance between field-specific and more general funding opportunities from the entire spectrum, from beginning grad study to postdoctoral positions. These emails are by no means comprehensive, however. You still need to talk about funding with people in your own discipline. Again, your DGS, your colleagues, staff, faculty, and you will need to do some of your own research. That said, I am the official or unofficial liaison for several prestigious external fellowships, especially those taking a student abroad. For example, we have been successful with Fulbright grants over the last 3 years. Unfortunately, most opportunities funded by the federal government are reserved for US citizens. Private foundations and professional societies may be more open. Thus, it is very important that you read funding announcements and eligibility factors very carefully. We do our best to share funding opportunities without citizenship requirements, but they are fewer in number. You'll see it towards the bottom of the screen, the go.uic.edu/online funding. Here we list many databases, including sources for international and undocumented students. We're doing our best. We're trying to get you those resources. Another source that you should consider is UIC SNAP at snap.uic.edu. This is run out of the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. It is a portal for UIC departmental and U of I foundation-based funding. You create your own profile and wait for matches to suddenly appear. For example, I might hope for funding for someone like me, left-handed Francophile and historian. But before I pass the baton to Lindsay, my advice on finding funding, well, it's pretty simple. Start early and treat it like a part-time job. Lastly, I should note that I am virtual. So you won't find me on campus, but we can definitely meet via email and via Zoom. And now I shall pass the microphone to Lindsay Marshall.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all virtually and hope very much to meet many of you in person. Unlike Ben, I will actually be on campus several days a week and am available remotely the other 2 days. So if you send me an email, which I will post in the chat later and will show you on the slide, Ben, do you mind re-sharing my slides too? I appreciate it. So my name is Lindsay. I am a PhD student in the English department, but have now just taken on a new position in the graduate college. I've been working in the graduate college for almost 4 years, assisting Ben with fellowships and awards and helping graduate students as they apply for various funding opportunities, but will now be moving into a different position, which is a writing specialist and academic advisor position. So I'm still here to assist Ben and to help with funding, but the angle at which I'm helping students will shift a little bit. So I will tell you more about that role in a second and how I'm here to help work with you. So part of the way I wanted to start was by laying bare a really persistent myth that I think will resonate with many of you. And this is the myth that graduate students have it all figured out, that they have it all together, that they have very few questions, and that because graduate students have already proven their responsibility by obtaining an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or several prior graduate degrees, in some cases, that they've got it all figured out and that everything is handled. This is not to say that graduate students aren't amazing and responsible and resilient and brilliant, but it is to say that they don't have it all figured out, that there are additional and taxing responsibilities placed on graduate students like debt, right? Student loan debt, other kinds of debt, and parenthood and relationship challenges and caretaking of family members. Graduate students have a lot of responsibilities. And they are in fact 6 times more likely than the general population to experience serious mental health crises. So this is not to say that graduate school has to be a big bad bummer, but it is to say that you are not expected to have it all figured out and that there are many resources at UIC and externally as well to help support you. So the fact of these extra responsibilities and of graduate students absolutely needing extra support should not be ignored. And we need a lot of support systems in place to address the range of challenges that graduate students uniquely face. And this is where I come in and where Ben comes in and where Theresa and Jamie and Alan and Lunaire, the majority of the graduate college staff comes in to help you and to assist you. Specifically, however, and Ben, if you don't mind moving to the next slide, I'll tell you just a bit about my position and how I can work with you as an advocate and as an advisor. So as a writing specialist, part of my job will be to provide you with individualized writing assistance, actual one-on-one conferences where I can work with you to draft and edit all kinds of scholarly and career-focused materials. So if you're thinking about applying for fellowships, I'm here to help with the writing for that. Other kinds of award applications, job materials, cover letters, CVs. I have extensive experience doing all of that, and I genuinely love doing it. So that is one part of my role, is to help you with written materials. I'll review those materials and you will tell me what you need and how I can assist you. If you need kind of bigger picture details addressed, such as argument or organization or development, I can help with that. But I can also help with grammatical concerns or sentence structure or citations. So in my capacity as a writing specialist, those are some of the ways I'm here to assist you. And in the other portion of my role, which is as an academic advisor, I am really here to be an advocate for you. So I have a lot of experience working with a broad range of graduate students from many, many different backgrounds, both formally and informally advising these students about conflict management, about socio-emotional, physical, and financial health, and providing some support for navigating some of these really unique challenges that arise in graduate school, whether that's within the department, within the university. I'm here to hook you up with the kind of resources that will be most beneficial for you, whether those are on campus or whether they are external. I will work with you to find an answer and really work as an advocate for you. So I'm also available to answer any questions you might have. I'm going to go ahead and put my email, since it was on the first slide, in the chat, and then introduce my dear friend and wonderful colleague, Nancy Dominguez-Fret, who will be telling us a little bit about her experience applying for fellowships and awards, navigating graduate school, and working with the Graduate College. Nancy, whenever you are ready, so glad to see
everyone. Hi. I was wondering if you could see me. Hi, how are you? Thank you for the invite and welcome everyone to UIC. Like Lindsay said, my name is Nancy Dominguez-Fret and I'm in the College of Ed. I wanted to start off by just sharing a Google Doc, super simple, that I just put together for you guys to kind of walk you through my journey at UIC, specifically with respect to funding, because I accepted my PhD position at UIC without any funding, which is a little bit scary, but I guess my time here at UIC is kind of like a testimony of that there is ways to find funding and not get in debt, but it's also very stressful. So I'm really grateful that we have people like Lindsay and Ben and Dr. Ford and Ellen that are there to kind of help us navigate these situations. But I started off my first 3 semesters with a graduate college tuition fee and waiver application. If you see it on that's one of the first fellowships list, the first fellowships on the list that I have there. And I actually got that waiver 3 times. So that kind of helped for a year and a half to alleviate that funding, but there was no stipend. It was just, like a tuition waiver. And then from there, I kind of tried to aim way bigger and applied for the Ford Foundation pre-doctoral fellowship. I think the first 2 times I did it alone, or maybe the first time I did it alone, and it was a really lonely and challenging process. But then the last 2 times, I believe Lindsay was there to help me with the application process and with the essays and all of that, because it's like 3 essays per application. So I did not get the Ford Foundation Fellowship. I think we got really close this last time, thanks to the help that I got, but I did not get it. However, I have received like the Diversifying Higher Education Faculty Fellowship, and that comes through the state of Illinois, but Dr. Ford is in charge of, I believe, at UIC. So I was able to get that for up to 3 years, and I have gotten it 2 years in a row. And this year I was just awarded the UIC Access Fellowship, which is like, it's supposed to fund you through your dissertation writing process, which I'm in right now. So just to let you know that these are available there. There are requirements that you have to meet, but the links are there just in case they're helpful for you. And you can also, I'll put my email if you want to email me to ask me questions about those fellowships. There's another fellowship in the bottom, the AAHHE Graduate Student Fellow Program, which you don't get a stipend for, but it's kind of like a mentoring program when you're doing your final year as a PhD student. And then I also just recently got awarded the Provost Graduate Research Award, which grants you $5,000 to conduct your pilot research project. So I highly recommend for you guys to look for that once you're in that stage. But I would like to share that like my process working with Lindsay has been wonderful. I've always told her like I struggle with my academic identity as a writer for different reasons, and she really helped me like own that, right? Like I am a writer, and like just walk me through writing essays that still kept my story and my voice in them, but like that I felt were stronger through her guidance on how to organize things or how to like make sure all the grammatical that the essays were grammatically on point. And it was just really, really helpful to talk to someone about my essays and like my goals. And it just really, really helped me feel more confident in my writing. And you don't often get that opportunity to work with someone one-on-one. And Lindsay does something really cool where you actually edit together over the phone or virtually or in person. So like you're agreeing to the changes there. She's not changing anything for you without like your consent. So your voice is extremely still in the essay. And I feel like I'm really grateful that I know about this opportunity to work with someone, because I didn't know like the first couple of years as a graduate student. And like I said, it could be really lonely to apply to all these fellowships because your advisor is already like super busy. So sometimes they don't have the time to look at your drafts, but there's, someone that can help you with that. And I think you should really take advantage of the opportunity. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'll also put my email on the chat.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's like incredibly helpful. And that document Ben, I bet your eyes like lit up when you saw Nancy's document, because it's the kind of thing that we often encourage students to put together, paying attention to like due dates for fellowships or awards that you think might align, right, with some of your research interests. And I just want to emphasize too, and I know that anyone from the GC who's currently on would back me up on this. It's really easy to think that you shouldn't apply for something because you're not good enough yet, right? Because you haven't published, because you haven't conducted enough research, because, right? There are always going to be multiple reasons to not apply for funding or to think that you are not yet good enough or impressive enough to apply. But part of this is like totally about practice and getting used to the genre of fellowship and award applications, which are a fundamentally different genre than, say, writing a paper for a class or writing a lab report. And that's precisely the kind of thing that we're here to assist with, is how to parse the differences between those genres and maybe shift the tone or the voice or the jargon to get some money for all of the brilliant research that you're doing or that you want to do. So don't think that you shouldn't be applying. You obviously want to meet the criteria for these awards, but we'll help you think through that sort of stuff. So please don't think that it's way too early to apply or that you're not impressive enough to apply, because that is not true.
And Nancy, thank you so much for sharing that document, because one of the things I preach when I give presentations to departments is please use spreadsheets. Please use spreadsheets to organize your life, especially when it comes down to funding. Nancy's was great. It has the name, description. You can add in columns for the URL, add in a column for the deadline. You can add in columns for who's writing your letters of recommendation. You can add in all these different columns to help you with the process, because applying for funding, as I think Nancy put forward, and which I stress, is it's like a part-time job, and it's not something you want to hurry up and rush. You need to do it in chunks. You need to oftentimes take your time, because it's very difficult to write a fellowship application as an all-nighter and expect to be funded. It might happen, but it's not a good policy. So we've got a question from Alfred Rodriguez. NSF grants are definitely something our UIC students apply for and win. I'm not sure if you had specific ones in mind, but we always have a cohort of about 4 to 6 students with the NSF GRFP. That's the Graduate Research Fellowship Program. There are other more specific, that's for sciences. There are more specific NSFs for dissertation research. Sociology, anthropology, for example, they win quite often. UIC Global students are not eligible for our funding mechanisms.
But some external funding mechanisms, UIC
Correct.
Global students can absolutely be eligible for.
Right, and UIC Global students are also not eligible for our fellowship for our tuition fee waivers. In fact, your department would be billed if you accidentally got one. Any other questions?
I just wanted to emphasize too, to look out for this email, which Ben discussed earlier in the presentation, but in case you missed that part, the weekly email typically comes out on Thursday or Friday, and this is an email that Ben and I curate each week. And we usually arrange the email or start the curation process by choosing opportunities from a variety of fields, like everywhere from art historians to chemists, that have upcoming deadlines within the next month to 3 months. So we try to arrange typically by deadline. That might vary from time to time, but keep an eye out when you see an email from Ben that says something like, the weekly funding email has arrived, or funding opportunities, pay attention to that and skim through. It won't have something for everyone every week, but it is worth taking a look, because I definitely looked at that often as a grad student and applied for things that I ended up winning. So it is helpful to give that a glance each week.
So hopefully you can see it on the screen here. This is a draft from last week. There were 23 different opportunities, maybe 20, actually more than that, I think, because there were some subcategories. So we provide the short list first, and then we provide more detailed information after that. We provide the links. We try to do some bolding to give you a sense of, attract your eye. So read through these. If you feel like you didn't quite get enough information, you might want to click through and read some more, and that will hopefully lead you in the right direction. Okay. Anna asked about fellowships and external funding for Hispanic graduate students and for international students. Again, it's just to be honest, there are fewer opportunities than there are for domestic students. However, I would say a lot of external funding has no restrictions in terms of race, ethnicity, or there may be fellowships particularly for you. So we have a lot of those listed on our website, especially the online funding link that I put in earlier. There are opportunities. We also have internal competitions for which domestic Hispanic graduate students are definitely eligible. For example, the Access to Excellence and the DFI. How long does it? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, Lindsay,
I just saw a question in the chat that I was going to address very briefly.
Please do.
Hi, Ashley. We've actually talked a little bit over email already. Nice to see you here. So Ashley just asked if it's bad to reuse the same pieces of writing for different applications. And Nancy will laugh at this because when we first started working together, my answer was absolutely not, so long as these are repurposed wisely and tailored to the newer applications requirements. So Ashley, if there's something you want to apply for or that you're thinking about applying for, let's definitely be in touch, because I don't know that I'm good at a lot in this world, but one thing is repurposing older pieces of writing that you're proud of into newer applications. So it is not a bad thing to do, so long as you know how to kind of finesse the writing that you've previously completed for different funding opportunities. Okay, now I'll be quiet.
No, keep going, Lindsay. I'm scrolling through the chat as well.
Yeah, one of
how long does it take to get funded? That depends. Fulbright is something that's on my mind and Lindsay's mind right now, and this is one of the slowest processes, I think, on earth. The competition opened on March 31st. Our campus deadline is September. The national deadline is October. Semifinalists are chosen around February 1st. And then around April 15th, people know whether or not they actually won, but they may not actually find out until June, and they don't go abroad until August or January. So that can be over a year, sometimes a year and a half long process. Other fellowships and awards have a much shorter, quicker turnaround. So it really depends on the funding mechanism. What am I missing, Lindsay?
No, that's right. That it very much depends on the mechanism itself. Some places and organizations really some institutions pride themselves on having a quick turnaround process, and others just are not able to do that. So it's really dependent, and it's dependent upon the timeline, the size of the institution, the number of applicants, of course, and there's no harm in asking at the outset of the application how long it will take to get a response. Of course, as they start reading through, that answer could change, but it's hard to say because it will vary pretty widely by the specific opportunity.
And we only have about 1 minute left. The crowdsourcing data annotations, I don't even know how to address that. Maybe you can email me directly. One thing I do want to say in the minute remaining before I give Lindsay the last word is that if you never apply for anything, you're guaranteed not to win. So you increase your chances tremendously by applying. Lindsay, last words?
It's just to apply. I was like an incredibly self-conscious, deep in the imposter syndrome hole. And yet at some point I decided that I needed money more than I needed to like feel bad or worried about what a terrible graduate student I was. And so I started applying for things. And it is true that once you start applying, miraculously, you start getting more and more funding once you've already had one successful application. So it's super nice to meet all of you. And I really look forward to getting to work with you. Send me a message. I'll put it in the chat one last time. And I hope you have a really good day. Thanks, Theresa, and everyone for organizing this. And thanks, Nancy and Ben. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Theresa.
So much powerful, wonderful information. Hopefully with Nancy's permission, we can post that in the chat. I post that later when we post the videos as a resource. So thank you so much, Ben, Lindsay, and Nancy for the information about fellowships. I'm sure that was super helpful for many folks. We are in the last stretch, y'all. And that means that you get to listen to me for 10 more minutes. We're going to talk about career and professional development. So if you can hold on about 10 more minutes, hopefully there'll be something useful you can take with you. And if not, well, it's been a day, right? So, all right. Again, with my comics, there are going to be times when you're approaching your career, your job search, and you might have a crisis and then you just have to go back to work. So this is going to be the section on professional development, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Again, my name is Theresa Christenson-Caballero. I'm the Director of Grad Student Professional Career Development in the Graduate College. Along with my graduate assistant, Jodi, Aguilar, whom you met earlier, we curate a lot of different programs and workshops around your professional development needs and career development needs here at UIC. So this is something, just really quickly to talk about, what are we here for in terms of your professional career development? So the Graduate College supports graduate students in developing strategies and plans and networks to be successful in their professional career development. We empower graduate students to navigate a lifetime of complex career decisions. As Dr. Art mentioned much earlier today, this afternoon, some of you aren't necessarily going to academia. You're going to go into other job modes. A lot of PhDs, 50% found employment in business, government, and nonprofit, and those numbers look even different in terms of master's students as well. While you're here, you're setting yourself up for a diverse career trajectory. No matter what you think that goal is now, that might change over the course of being here at UIC. You're going to be eligible for many competitive academic positions, as well as gain transferable skills from multiple professions. You're going to increase your research abilities and your command of discipline-specific and interdisciplinary knowledges, project and self-management, understanding and committing to ethical practices, grant writing, analytical skills, etc., that can lead you to many different kinds of career paths. Some quick tips, because this is only a quickie. We'll have many more workshops where we can kind of go into depth about some of these things throughout the semester, but just some tips in your career and professional development to start. Start from the end and work backwards, whether it's a fellowship application, it's a job application, it's an internship, or eventually your career search. Start from where you want to be and work backwards. Calendar your degree completion dates. What are the major things that you have to do? What are the major, we talked in the very beginning, what is that plan at the very end? What are the things that you have to do in that process? Do you have to submit, something for exams? Do you have to complete your exams, proposal for your dissertation, or final project? Whatever it is, calendar those major things that you have to accomplish here. What are the major conferences in your field? What are the submission deadlines for those? Do those generally happen in October? Do they happen in March? When do you have to submit for conferences? And what is the major conference in your field? Start talking to your fellow graduate students. Make friends with someone in your department who's a senior graduate student and or other faculty mentors, advisors that can tell you these things. Also include your financial plans and funding deadlines in that. We just had a long conversation about those things. And start your achievements file now. All of the things that you guest lecture, awards, you got recognized in your department as the top whatever for this, semester. Start your achievements file, because in the end, when you're applying for different things, you'll have a file to kind of go from. When I came to graduate school, I thought, oh, well, maybe there's going to be that one mentor who's going to do everything for me and tell me exactly what to do and where I need to go and advocate for me, etc. Wrong, Theresa. That is not what happened. You need multiple mentors and advisors, not just one mentor. You will have your advisor in your department. They aren't necessarily going to be your mentor. There's different in the grad panel earlier, some of the students were talking about, well, I go to this person for this thing, and I go to this person for this thing. So start thinking about multiple mentors. They may be your colleagues in your classes that you're able to go to for advice. They may be your advisor. They may be other folks in the discipline that can instruct you. They may be people out in the community that are going to provide some other form of support. So you need to think about who those mentors are and really developing that to get through graduate school. It's going to be a key element of getting through graduate school and also eventually getting towards the careers that you want to build. Learning, learning, learning. We're here to learn, right? This is really important, but you're now in the industry of academia in graduate school. And as a graduate student, you're part of this industry, and it's not just enough to become an expert in your field. You want to, in your field, in your subject area, you want to succeed in school. It's important to have a bird's eye view of the industry of academia. Start understanding academia as an industry. It's important that you have a macro view of the industry that you've now joined as a student, as a master's and PhD student. What are the biggest challenges that professors, staff, and leadership are facing in the universities? Where's the future of higher education going? Who's doing the innovating? How are they doing it? What kinds of institutions are moving forward? How is your field situated in this landscape? So you can use the UIC library to get into the Chronicle of Higher Education. You can also look at Inside Higher Ed and many other places to look at this industry of academia, but you need to also be aware of your field in the kind of larger context as you're looking at your careers kind of moving forward. We have a number of resources that we both subscribe to as part of UIC. The Graduate College pays for your access to these sources for your career and professional development. You're like, Theresa, why are you telling me this now? I'm just starting my first week, of grad school, but you do need to start now. It's going to go quick, and you don't want to be at the end going, oh, I wish I had kind of looked at these resources and websites, and that would have really helped me with my CV, and that would have really helped me these kind of sessions. So I'm going to show you some of these sites really quickly. What did Ben say? We had Jorge Cham. Yes, Jorge Cham was on campus. So I'm going to share, but I'm going to go back to some of these sites instead and see if I can pull these ones up. Okay. So Imagine PhD is a wonderful site of, especially if you're in the social sciences and humanities, and if you're in STEM or otherwise, you can also use this because there's a number of kind of tests that you can do in the site. I'm trying to move this box here, but there's a number of assessments. There's a ton of resources here in this site. They organize things in terms of job families. It's a career planning tool specifically for humanities and social science. It offers resumes, job stories, ways to approach these careers. If you're in the STEM fields, this is being updated right now, the MyIDP, the individual development plan, but MyIDP is specifically for folks in STEM. So you can go into the MyIDP, sciencecareers.org, and there's also a number of skills exercises. You look at skills, interests, and values, and they look at kind of careers moving forward for you. The National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity is something that we subscribe to as a university, as the graduate college, along with the Office of Diversity and Faculty Affairs. Anybody can use this at UIC. Make sure you log in with your UIC email address. There's a ton of webinars and resources, documents. There's a writing group. There's writing groups once you get to this kind of like writing period. It is focused on faculty diversity and development, but there's a lot of things about time management. Someone mentioned in the panel earlier, they have a whole session on the art of saying no. But there's things that you can kind of take, whether you want to become a faculty member or not. There's definitely things here in the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity that you can take. You can go to the Graduate College website also through the Graduate College website to access these sites. And then the last one I actually didn't pull up, but I'm going to pull up. Is a versatile PhD, which we also subscribe to in the Graduate College. Is it coming up? Well, you can look it up and you can find it on our website. Is another career planning tool that you can look at. It's something that we subscribe to. It's something that you have access to. Otherwise, you'd have to pay for Versatile PhD and the NCFDD, but we pay for these things so you have access to these sites for your own career and professional development while you are here. That was just a quick one. We are going to be having some more many more workshops throughout the fall and throughout the semester. I would like to drop, if you have any feedback on the orientation today, if you can go in this kind of what you did in the beginning, you did that Padlet. Orientation 2021 is the password. If you can just let us know your thoughts, what was maybe valuable for you during this orientation, what you're going to take with you, and also, maybe something that we didn't get to that you would have really liked to see. And if so, then maybe some contact to reach out to if you need more information or support, etc. So we really want to thank you for joining us today for the new graduate student orientation. Maybe Jodi, if you can drop the link again for the registration, if you'd like to come to the social, our online social, the Café con Chisme, coffee with gossip, or you can have any other drink you want with us tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're going to be meeting via Zoom. Jodi's going to be leading that conversation with new graduate students, and maybe an opportunity to kind of informal setting to meet with one another. But we thank you so much for joining us today. I want to specifically also thank Shannon Redden and Jodi Aguilar and the rest of the staff at the Graduate College and leadership for being here today to answer questions, and all of our speakers and presenters and graduate students everyone's volunteered their time today to speak with you. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful semester, and don't be afraid to reach out to the Graduate College. We're here for you. That's what we're here for. We're a small staff. Like Ben mentioned earlier in his fellowships, we're a small staff, but we do what we can, and we're small but mighty. So thanks all. Have a wonderful semester and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.